In 2005, a user named Rice Bunny began uploading picture makeup tutorials on her blog and short video tutorials on Zanga. Rice Bunny then began uploading makeup tutorial videos to YouTube, not knowing she would become one of the first ever influencers and regarded as the original beauty guru. Welcome to Rewind Time. This episode, we're talking about Michelle Phan.
Yeah, it's rewind time.
Bam, 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 bam. Welcome to Rewind Time. This episode is about Michelle Phan. Lucy, how are you?
I am well, thank you. It is not as hot as our recording temperature for last week, so does that make you feel good? How do you feel?
I'm more dressed for the weather, as our video listeners can see. For the audio audience, I'm wearing a singlet, so I think whatever the temp in this room, I'm going to be ready for it.
But are you ready for today's episode talking about Michelle Phan? We haven't covered a beauty guru on the podcast yet, and I figured it only made sense to start with, I would say, probably the most iconic, or like the most, to me, she is, and maybe that's a personal bias, but how do you feel about covering beauty gurus?
I sort of expressly asked to cover a beauty guru because, yeah, as I said in the I Justine episode and the Neil Ciceriga one, you mentioned it, comedy on YouTube. I'm keen to take a break from it, but this one actually was very interesting to me, as you know, I'm not someone who traditionally consumes beauty content.
Really?
That might be a surprise.
I know, you're
to some of you.
I feel like you're so beautiful and you just look always so put together. I assumed you'd been watching skincare and makeup tutorials, you know? No?
The thing is, I do follow skincare trends and I'm broadly aware of what's going on in that space. But obviously, makeup, not something that I have paid much attention to. So this was a whole new world for me in terms of beauty YouTube. So it did make sense for us to start with, some would say, the originator of beauty YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of debated. I feel like everyone has their own first beauty guru that they regard as the OG. But for me, I feel like Michelle Phan was my first beauty guru.
Is Jeffree Star a beauty guru?
Yeah.
Because I know about him.
How much do you know about him?
Not really anything. I just know he does beauty, right?
Yeah.
Is James Charles a beauty guru?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm actually not bad. I've got 3, and I knew about Michelle Phan.
You only know men. You only know male ones. Do you know any other women, like female beauty gurus?
Off the top of my head?
You can do it. You can do it.
No.
Okay. You can't do it.
Sorry.
Well, at some point we will cover James Charles and Jeffree Star, I'm sure, and those will certainly be episodes.
Look, it's probably a good thing I don't know them, because the reason I know those two is because of their notoriety.
Yeah.
So it's actually probably better to not be known by me.
Yeah.
As someone not in the beauty space.
I guess I want to ask, were you aware of Michelle Phan before we did this episode?
I can't be certain, but I believe I did know that she was a beauty YouTuber, in that I think you would have spoken about her during our relationship at some point.
Yeah.
But I can't say I have seen any of her videos or knew her content.
Okay.
So less certain than I was that I was aware of Potter Puppet Pals, but more certain than I was when I said I'd never seen a Smosh or a Niga Higa video.
Her name rang a bell. You were aware of her in
Yes.
some capacity. Okay, cool. And should I talk about myself and my relationship with Michelle?
course.
Okay. So I can't pinpoint exactly, and it was really hard for me when we were watching the back catalogue of videos for when exactly I started watching Michelle Phan, but it was definitely in high school, like with a lot of the YouTubers we've talked about on this podcast. I want to say it would have been like 2011 or 2010 at the earliest, or like 2012, 2013 at the latest. But all I know is that there are some videos that while I was watching them, I was like, I remember these coming out at the time, like in my subscription box. And then there were some videos where I was like, I don't know if I watched this at the time or if I just like went back through her back catalogue, because but I have seen a lot of the videos we watched. I was quite, coming into this episode, I was very familiar with Michelle's content and with Michelle. So this was an episode I had been anticipating for a while, because I think she is a quite interesting YouTuber, or at least to me personally, I watched a lot of her content. So to me, I guess she's yeah, I was a fan. The past tense, but I
let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But I think her content is really, really, really good. I watched a lot of her content. Let's start there. I'm sure we'll get into it during the episode.
Yeah, well, much like many of our early adopters of YouTube, Michelle had already created a internet presence for herself off the site.
Mm-hmm.
She was a poster on, and I'm going to try and pronounce this, Xanga? Xanga? Is that, you think it's Xanga?
I was not a visitor of Xanga. I'm not entirely sure what it was. Like, not to be like so Gen Z vibes, being like, I think that was a little before my time. But like, I think it was...
It's like an online beauty blog with like discussion potential.
Yeah, maybe like a live journal type vibe.
Look, I just know they did their like user acquisition strategy on GeoCities.
What's that?
Oh, okay. It's like from what I understand, it's like sort of like a precursor to Tumblr. Like it's like you have a customizable HTML page.
Oh, yeah. So like live journal.
Yeah.
Right.
We're too young for this. Let's not get we're about YouTube. All right, someone can do the Xanga podcast. But she's posting on there under the handle Rice Bunny, which when I saw in the early videos, I was a bit like, wow, that is a choice of handle. It does have, to me, some unsavory connotations.
No, I think she explains that she's born in the year of the rabbit. So that, and then also, this is like not a spoiler, she's revealed to be like a Sailor Moon fan. And Sailor Moon, her name is Usagi, which is the Japanese word for bunny. So I get it as a fellow anime fan, as a former weeb.
Yeah. I just think that it has the connotations of it could be a slur.
What?
But you wouldn't call...
Well, yeah, but she...
a young Asian woman. I would never call a young Michelle Phan a rice bunny. That seems so problematic.
I had a MSN username when I was in like middle school, which I made this username and my mum actually was like, you can't use that username, which was flour cupcake.
Oh, what's wrong with that?
Well, it's pretty innocuous, but my mum was like, it's creepy for old men.
I think maybe it identifies you as a young girl.
As a child, yeah. So it's just a cute nickname. Also, for our viewers who aren't aware, Michelle Phan is Vietnamese American, so she is Asian. So you're not like, she's allowed to do that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'm not saying. Look, I just think it's telling the channel becomes Michelle Phan and not Rice Bunny.
I think it's a cute username. I understand. Like from the background, I think it's fine.
So we're giving the tick to Rice Bunny, but it's not for long because she does post to YouTube and she does her first makeup tutorial, which is a natural look. Mm-hmm. Lucy, did this look strike you as very natural? Was it very of the time?
I think this was a good, like, first makeup tutorial. It's a good first of YouTube video. It obviously, I think you pointed out that it had some audio issues, which were...
Yeah, we should quickly touch on a lot of Michelle's early videos have been copyright claimed. There was actually a big legal issue with Michelle's channel later on. But as a result, a lot of the early videos have had the original audio replaced.
Yeah.
And they now have like looping...
stock music.
Royalty-free instrumentals, which are very short. Some of them are only like 20 seconds. So you hear the same 20 seconds of music over and over again. And she's basically put captions in the video where she would have been narrating.
Having the voiceover. Yeah. So to set the scene, a lot of Michelle's early makeup tutorials are, as you would imagine, videos of her applying her makeup, but with, I would describe, a very soothing voiceover. I don't know, you didn't seem to feel any particular type of way about her voice, but I personally think Michelle's voice, she could so do ASMR. And I say that as an ASMR fan. I do listen to a lot of ASMR. Michelle has a very like soothing, calm, like serene quality to her videos. They're very like, the pace isn't very fast paced or intense or anything like that. Compared to some of the other early YouTubers we've discussed where they're very like, wham, bam. It's very like, and then you're just going to take your concealer and place it under your eyes. And it's like very chill.
Yeah, you're never going to experience a negative emotion watching an early Michelle Phan video.
No. And I would say, and I guess I'm happy for you to speak to this as well, but, you know, like you've said, you're not super familiar with makeup content. This was like your first foray into like actually sitting down and watching makeup videos. But Michelle is very instructional. She does give a lot of tips. It is almost to me like it's really professional, like the way she discusses it. I think multiple times while we were watching the content, I remarked that it reminded me a little bit of like how like makeup was written about in magazines, like a very like tip sort of format, or very like, I don't want to say commercial because I don't mean that in a negative way, but it is very like how, for background for our listeners, I used to work in like makeup in retail, and the way you're like taught to speak to customers and like describe product and stuff is the way Michelle is speaking. I don't know if there's a better way for me to explain that. I don't know if you have.
No, I get what you mean.
Yeah. It's very like, you know, you want to take this type of concealer, which has like this amount of coverage. So da-da-da. It's very educational. Gosh,
yes.
That was the word I was looking for.
Well, and I sort of asked you at the time because I kind of was like, wow, there's a lot of steps in this routine.
You're so crazy for that.
And then you told me that actually there was not, and that you actually did far more, which was interesting.
Yeah.
But I did want to ask about how at the time when you learnt to do makeup, outside of like some very niche cases of where like, oh, I bought a DVD with a guide, most people, their only reference was like instructions in magazines, which are still images, or having their family and friends teach them how to apply. Like maybe you get your makeup done professionally, for most people, a handful of times in your life, but actually seeing a video of someone doing the step by step, that would have been like a huge instructional development for average people's ability to do makeup.
Yeah, I would say I mostly learned how to do my makeup from watching YouTube videos. And I have definitely picked up tips that I still use today. And I know people talk about that. But yeah, Michelle, I would have learned quite a lot from watching Michelle's videos. And even when we were watching some of them, I was like, oh, I remember learning that at the time. And that's still something I do to this day. Or like, I didn't realize that this was where I learnt that.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? So...
yeah, so Michelle does a series of videos. This first video that she did, it picked up significantly early on in terms of views. It now sits at 12 million views.
Wow.
And many of Michelle's videos have a similar multi-million view count.
Yeah.
She's very consistent in terms of the view counts that her videos get. I think it's because primarily she is not a super prolific uploader, and she also does stick to her main channel niches for the most part. And
the format is mostly, she kind of only swaps between a few formats. There's the makeup tutorial format, and then she occasionally does something that's like a product roundup, like a favorites kind of thing. And then later on she does some like DIY, stuff like that. But most of the time it is like the voiceover instructional format. I would say like 80% of the videos follow that format. Would you agree from what we watched?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, okay.
And so for listeners, this video was published May 21, 2007. So from there, we have some additional looks, a seductive smoky eye, which you can see she's still filming. It looks like a webcam. It's in like 4:3, almost square format, but the audio significantly improves. And she does introduce her sign-off, which is good luck.
Can you do your best, Michelle, good luck?
Well...
do you want...
no.
Where she's like, good luck.
But she does spins on it, you know? She doesn't always say it the same
well,
way.
But what... can you do the...
I'm not going to do an impression of Michelle.
Oh.
You can. You do it
I
for
just
our
did.
listeners. Oh, yeah. That was really good.
Good luck. Yeah.
That was great.
It's so iconic. Do you understand the iconicness of the good luck?
I mean...
okay, I think
she does it on every video.
I think I'm introducing some of my own, like, long-term viewer bias where I'm like, the iconic Michelle good luck, which is just maybe a thing for her subscribers.
Yeah, I think so. I was honestly, like, there was a lot of videos where I was like, good luck for what, girl?
Good luck with achieving the look, because she's just taught you how to do the look and now you're going to do it, and she's saying good luck.
But when she's recommending what sunscreen, like, do I need luck? Anyway, I'm being a bit of a hater. No, it's cool. It's cool. It's an original sign off, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, instead of just saying like, comment, subscribe, good luck. Yeah, that's unique. Good for her.
I think it just, and again, we'll probably get into it through the episode, but she does have this sort of like positive vibe throughout her videos. Like she often has like some kind of brief positive messaging that goes for like 30 seconds to a minute at the end of a video, which is like, you know, believe in yourself, believe in your dreams. Like it's a very, I don't know, inspirational, like girl loves an inspirational quote on Pinterest vibe. Yeah, and I mean 100%. That in like a kind way. Like I, as like a teenager, would be seeing that and she would be like, you know, believe in yourself. The real beauty is inside of you. And I'd be like, oh, you know, it's nice. It's wholesome. It's cute. Yeah. But did you like the smoky eyes?
Did I like the smoky eyes? Yeah, like, sure. I mean, I don't think there was any looks from Michelle that I disliked, you know. I'm sure.
Are you gonna? Which one will you be attempting?
Oh, that's a good question. Actually, maybe leave it till the end, you know. I'll debut my favorite.
Yeah. I feel like I know there is one that I feel like you got very excited about, which we'll talk about.
Oh, actually, yes. Okay, we'll get there. And Michelle is also doing some out of the bedroom content at this point, some like shopping stuff at CVS. So CVS, international viewers, is that drugstore tier in terms of American cosmetic sales?
Yeah, it's like a pharmacy. It's like a chemist warehouse vibe for our Australian listeners.
And then, so she's pitching the products that she's talking about. It's very much like anyone can afford this. It's not prohibitively expensive for potentially like younger viewers.
Yeah, and I would say you can see her product knowledge here where she's going through the shelves and she's talking about different product lines and she's saying things like, this actually, you know, this brand is really ahead of its time because it's including retinol and it's really affordable, and like oftentimes only more expensive brands have retinol, so if you're looking for anti-aging, go for this. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. Sometimes the product knowledge is very like, that's what it says on the tin, which isn't wrong per se, but it is also a case of, and I think it does speak to the time where we didn't have as much like information at our disposal in that, like, just because a brand says it has an ingredient in it doesn't mean that it's necessarily like effective or anything. I apologize. I feel like I'm getting a bit in the weeds, but this is, for anyone who doesn't know, beauty is probably like one of my main topics that I talk about online. So that's why I'm very like...
Yeah, we need to give Michelle the benefit of the time in that.
Yeah, of course.
She was not receiving like the many boxes of PR.
No.
Beauty creators receive now. Like she probably couldn't say firsthand what her experience was with every product because she was buying them with her own money. And as we learn later, like does not come from a particularly wealthy background.
Yeah, but I guess it's also a case of like, I think, and I was like, even me, like growing up, being in like middle school and to now, there's a real difference in terms of the information available online about ingredient breakdowns in products and people having a better understanding of formula. Like I think it's a lot more common now for people generally, but also just like beauty creators to have a bit more understanding of, just because a brand says it contains like, you know, retinol, you can then, or like vitamin C or whatever, you can look at the ingredients list and be like, oh, okay, maybe it's not effective. Or you have, you know, creators like Lab Muffin Beauty Science who are really like going into, like, there are influencers or creators now who are like cosmetic chemists. So there's a lot more knowledge and education
100%.
out there. So she's doing what I mean to say, because I feel like I was sort of trashing her knowledge. I am not. Michelle is doing a really good job with like the information available at the time. She, is quite knowledgeable about products.
Yeah. I mean, to give some context, I saw a comment at the time when she discussed that product containing retinol, and the person was like, how dare you suggest young girls use retinol? That's only for people that are old or with degenerative skin. So even at the time saying use the retinol product, that was, we should give her credit because that was not a widely held viewpoint at that stage.
Yeah. No,
at least among her audience, it seems.
Yeah. We say as 2 retinol users in their 20s.
Oh, look, with the exception of the stuff that you give me, all my products are drugstore tier. And, you know, I have no complaints.
Yeah.
So, on ingredients, there are some early videos which are you told me formed part of a trend of DIY beauty, which I think is still something that a lot of people have a passion for, like creating your own masks, doing little beauty hacks with household products.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is a YouTube history podcast, but it's definitely a thing on TikTok, like people DIYing. I think now it's advanced to people being a bit more crunchy, which we were kind of debating. You were asking me if these hacks or DIYs that she did make her like crunchy or not. I don't think they do at this stage.
I think you're right, because the two I wanted to talk about, the first one is a kitty litter mask, where she says because kitty litter is made out of clay, and clay masks are obviously well accepted in the beauty industry.
Popular.
If I crunch up the kitty litter and make a mask out of it, that is like a cheap clay mask alternative.
Yeah.
So she proceeds to do this in the video and rubs kitty litter over her face. Yeah. How did you feel about this?
I know that this is part of like the Michelle lore, where people are like, this was wild that she did this. I think this is pretty emblematic of like early beauty YouTube / at some point we will, and I don't know exactly when in the pod we'll get to them, but viewers who are aware of them, we will get to like DIY YouTubers or like lifestyle YouTubers, where DIYing and doing stuff like this is very like common. She kind of has a point. Like, she's not wrong.
Okay.
Like, if people want to make a clay mask and unscented kitty, it's also, she's like, it's unscented kitty litter. It's $2 for a whole bag. It is an economical hack. I don't agree with like everything she says in the video, because she kind of explains like some of the science, and it's very like extracting toxins, which is very common beauty language. It's a bit like not like extracting toxins. I don't know. I have some thoughts. It kind of veers into that like clean beauty, chemicals, like rhetoric, but again, very common at the time.
My only thought with this is that some of the creators that we've seen, if they made this video, you would be like, well, it's rage bait. Like, they're being intentionally provocative to do this for views. Okay. But I don't think Michelle really partakes in
rage
that.
Bait?
No, not really.
I don't think so. In this, she's very explicitly being like, she is aware, and she even says it throughout the video, like, I know this is crazy. I know this sounds weird, but just trust me. It's literally just the raw ingredient that like is just in another form. This is what they use it for, but it's just not. And it's true. Like, would I do it? I'm not necessarily sure, but her point being that things are labeled as beauty products, they're marked up crazily. It's literally just,
yeah. In the second one of these, where she crushes up aspirin and puts that on her face as sort of an anti-acne mask.
Yeah,
she does explicitly say a lot of people are doing it tough. The global financial crisis is ongoing. Yes. And so these are like some cheap alternatives to expensive skincare. She did later apologize for the kitty litter video, not in a serious way, but in a modern video where she rewatches her old content. And she was like, I have no idea why I made this. And then she was like, I want to like reconfirm, I do not put kitty litter on my face.
But also in that, she was backing herself though, in like, she was like, yeah, it's true. It is clay. It is a clay mask. It literally is, So yeah, she was like, I don't actually do this hack, but she wasn't disagreeing with her logic as to why she did it. And that's why I'm like, I kind of respect it. There was also one that was like lemon and sugar, like a lemon sugar face scrub. I don't know if this was around this time or if it was later, but she does a few like DIY easy like masks or hacks.
Yeah, one of them in 2009 I think is funny, and it's how to stretch your shoes with ice, which I was like, come on, like if your shoe doesn't fit and you're stretching it with ice. But you're backing Michelle on this one. I
understand. Sometimes you are between shoe sizes, like, or a shoe company doesn't do half sizes, and the 9 is too big and the 8 is a little too small. So you get an 8, or like you have 2 different size feet. Like,
But ice is the stretcher.
Well, because ice
Doesn't it melt in
expands.
your shoe?
Well, because ice
Doesn't it melt in
expands.
your shoe?
No.
Okay.
You watched the video. I feel like, did you learn nothing? Have you learned nothing?
Look, for me, I saw the video and I immediately went to Michelle Phan wiki feet, and there she has a perfect 5 stars. So
Is that something you do often?
no.
Wiki-feet?
Well,
Okay.
actually, sorry. When we have creators that do lots of like extended foot content, I'm like,
yeah.
well, I know they have a rating. I'm curious. What was it? And it was 5 stars. So good for Michelle.
Great for Michelle. Question mark.
Anyway, so around this 2009, we have a real breakout moment for Michelle's channel. Mm-hmm. There is a Buzzfeed that's ascendant at the time. Mm-hmm. People love Buzzfeed. It's the next great media company. And they promote Michelle's Lady Gaga poker face makeup tutorial, which we watched. Mm-hmm. This video has so many views. In fact, I'll look it up right now. Lucy,
so many.
How many views did it have, do you think?
I think it had 50 million.
So this video has 35 million
Wow.
views. And she would make a second video for Bad Romance that has 56 million views, which BuzzFeed also promoted. Mm-hmm. So these were huge breakouts for Michelle Phan. Mm-hmm. We did look at the poker face tutorial and make an observation that she was now more commonly using non-drugstore makeup products.
Oh, yeah. I think I pointed this out.
Oh, I certainly did.
Watching.
Yeah.
Okay. I noticed that at this point, she's still using drugstore makeup products, but I think in her original videos, she's mostly using drugstore makeup. And at this point, it's definitely feeling like more of a mix, which I would say is pretty, like, a lot of people, I don't know, myself included, have a mix of makeup. You know, you buy some stuff that's a little more pricey, but then you have your, you know, cheap and cheerful favorites. Like,
Yeah, you got to have your daily driver.
It's so true, bestie. My makeup bestie.
Like, if I'm just going to the shops, I'm not wasting my designer products.
So true, Diva.
Like, they're not worth it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Diva. But I just noticed that, yeah, she was starting to, use a bit more of a variety in terms of products, which you kind of see going on. I feel like there is, I don't know which video it is, but there's one video in particular where I was like, oh, okay, we're using the fancy products now.
This one you did remark she used 4 different eyeshadow palettes to make the look.
Yes. Yeah. So, and like relatable content. Like sometimes you just want, you know, the creamy vanilla color from this palette, and then you want the blue from the other palette, and then you want the sparkly one from the other palette. But it's funny in like an early YouTube tutorial, because I think I remarked that it's really common in YouTube makeup tutorials sort of going forward to make it like easy for the viewer to create at home, or to use like, they could buy one eyeshadow palette and fully recreate the look on themselves. So it's very funny that she's like, I use this shimmery white from this Revlon palette, and then I go in with this individual shimmer shade from this, you know, thing, and then I go in with this and this. And I was like, okay, so we're layering like 4 different shades from 4 different palettes. So in order to like accurately recreate the look, you would have to buy like 5 eyeshadow palettes. I mean, the look slays.
I mean, I give her some leeway on this because she is recreating a look from one of like the most iconic makeup celebrities, right? Who has a very well-known professional makeup artist working with her, who would also, I imagine, use and also this look does have a cutout of a lightning bolt that you stick to your face. So I don't know if it's just like you're not going to be doing this one outside of some very special occasions.
I mean, that probably is accurate to how the makeup artist made it, is like a bit of this, a bit of that. I think it's just funny because I've watched so much makeup content on YouTube that I am so used to creators, I guess, trying to make it like thinking it from the viewer's POV. How can this person easily create it from home? Also, / like there's a commercial bend to it. Like they're wanting to sell you one palette through affiliate links and stuff.
Why sell one when you can sell 4?
Because no one wants to buy 4 to well, I don't know. It's just interesting, I guess. Like, that's actually accurate to how I do my makeup on a day-to-day. I take a little from here, a little from there. But I just thought it was interesting from a tutorial perspective that, you're using, like, quite the slew of products. But it was cool. It was a good video.
So, Michelle, at this point, very well-established YouTube following. There is a video where she goes with other YouTuber, Ray William Johnson, to CVS and does his makeup. What his makeup is literally just under eye concealer and lip balm, which I thought was underwhelming. I wanted him to be glammed up, but she does actually say this is all that guys need. So it is a somewhat helpful tutorial.
Yeah, she's trying to be helpful. She's teaching. It's meant to be a tutorial. And I suppose like it makes sense because Ray William Johnson obviously is another large YouTuber or like prolific YouTuber at the time. So he's on camera. I don't know. I think it makes sense. It's just a bit of a weird.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a weird video, but it so gives the energy of like, I want to collab with this person. What collab can we do that makes sense? And then that's what the video is.
Because we've seen Michelle in some of Ryan Higa's content, but on the whole, there are not that many collabs in her content, and she doesn't seem to be as enmeshed in that early YouTuber sphere that the creators we've looked at so far have been. Neil Cicierega, somewhat of an exception.
Yeah, well, I would say that she's in a very separate like niche. Like a lot of the YouTubers like Smosh, Nigi Higa, it's so giving. Every time we record, we're like Smosh, Nigi Higa. But with like early YouTubers, that was the landscape. But a lot of them have, I don't want to say it's like a dudes rock crossover, but it's like they're men doing comedy content. It's sketch.
Well, we never saw Michelle at the streamies, you know?
I'm not sure. Well, we'd have to fact check it, but I don't think so.
Well, it's more also she herself doesn't have a vlog channel, which is so common amongst these creators at the time.
Yeah.
Like she does seem to be more reserved, and we don't see as much of her non-beauty creative output.
I think as we go further into like later years and like YouTube is a little bit more down the track, you will see there is a pretty Dramageddon. There is a pretty there is a tight-knit beauty community where they do a lot of collabs, and same with like fashion lifestyle creators. Like there is a lot of collabing, but I think Michelle being so like an early adopter, kind of again that pioneering first beauty guru, there weren't that many of she is quite singular at the time, I would say. So I think it kind of makes sense that she's not like, what would the collaboration that she would do with Smosh be? Do you know what I mean? Like, what would that even look like? And is there any audience crossover? Is there any benefit to Michelle? Like, not, it's a completely different thing. So
yeah,
I kind
100%.
of, yeah, I think it's a good observation. She is mostly kind of on her own.
She does do some more personality-based content around this time. I would say the takeaways are Michelle sees herself as an artist, as in a someone who draws, someone who paints. It's because she opens the video saying, what is she? She's like, I am an artist. It's like she does kind of be like, people say that makeup is so superficial and that it's only about like covering up your insecurities, but no, like I am an artist and I've been creating art my whole life. And she shows some of her, artistic work, which we looked at and were like, sure. There is some snark from the time where people did accuse her of basically tracing existing art from DeviantArt, and passing it off as her own.
To clarify, this video is her sort of narrating and being like, it's like a subscriber milestone video, I think. Or like a view milestone. It's like a milestone video, and it's a bit of a like, thank you so much for all the love of my videos. I want to tell you a bit more about myself because, I don't really talk about myself so much. And she's drawing she's doing like a watercolor sketch of Aerith from Final Fantasy and Cloud. Is that right?
Important to note in this, she also talks about how she's a gamer.
She comes out as a gamer.
Yeah. Final Fantasy VII, her favorite game at this stage.
Slay. You were very surprised by this video. You were like, because we just watched like a bunch of makeup tutorials and she's suddenly like, I am an artist and I'm a gamer. And you're like, whoa.
Well, it's more like every YouTuber so far has done gaming content that we've covered. And I thought maybe we'd get away from that here. But even our original beauty YouTuber is like, I love Tekken. I love Final Fantasy. And I'm like, oh, okay.
I mean, maybe there's something to that.
I mean, I like video games, so I'm not going to hate.
I mean, me too. So I wonder if there's like a thesis we can draw up that like people who are like interested in like, technology.
Yes,
or,
100%. Early adopters of technology.
Are more likely to be on YouTube.
Yeah.
Someone get a PhD on that stat. But yeah, so there was controversy that she didn't. Was it for this video specifically? That was like she didn't draw this picture of Aerith and Cloud.
I can't dig into the exact
Not
stuff
you going on Michelle Phan
looking at this stuff is like a lot of it is expired because it's all from the early 2010s. I just know there are accusations that are still repeated online that she did pass off other artists' work as her own.
It's pretty crazy that she had like blog stuff about her in such an early, like I know like gossip and snark stuff is pretty par for the course for any kind of mid to large size YouTuber now, but pretty crazy that in like the early, like pre like 2010s and stuff, there were people, because like we weren't talking about like the Ryan Higa snark or but you know who we did talk about having like snark content is iJustine. So there definitely is a bit of a
there is something to female creators and their audience and the snark. I won't make any sweeping statements.
Yeah, no.
Only that I have observed that for many male creators, there are no snark subreddits. And the same can't be said
for a lot of female creators of potentially smaller sizes as well.
Yeah, but let's not go into snark. She does a Barbie makeup tutorial in 2009 and it goes crazy with the views. It has 69 million views now and even in 2014, it was known as the most watched beauty video on YouTube.
Wow.
I imagine it still holds that title with 69 million views, but we're not going to fact check that. And we were noting how she's now using Lemur, which even I know about as like...
Is it in this video?
Yeah.
Oh, that was so
Lemur
funny.
Is like a rich white woman product. Like it's in like Mecca Cosmetica and it's like I have more money than anyway, that's Lemur, shout out.
It's so
sorry, let me give you right. Am I correct? Speaking as someone who has Lemur products.
I don't think okay, I've been given like small like sample or sizes and I did used to work somewhere where we retailed La Mer and I would sell it to customers. I didn't actually often really have to do much to sell it. Like they would just be like, I'm coming in for my refill of my $500 moisturizer. And I'd be like, sick girly, did you want to get the lip balm too? And she'd be like, why not? And I'd be like, okay, Diva, that's my rent payment on this moisturizer. But like people can spend their money how they want, whatever. Yes, I would say there was definitely a demographic that purchased La Mer, but that is their, you know, we don't have to get into the beauty marketing of it all. But I thought it was just interesting in this video. I was really struck by the fact she was using a La Mer like face powder, which apparently is a nice product. I'm not disparaging any of the products. I'm just saying they are expensive.
You did tell me to say she uses something called a Coastal Scents palette.
Oh yeah, she uses Coastal. Sorry, Max takes the notes while we watch these videos, and sometimes I'm like, wait, can you just make a note of that? So, but Coastal Scents was like the eyeshadow palette of the time. It's like a big palette. I think there's about 40 or 60 things. It was quite affordable as well, and it was really colorful. So you could, especially because Michelle has started doing these more like costume or like cosplay style makeup looks, and she will go on to do a lot of them. They do seem to be the heavy hitters for her because they're very tutorial, like Halloween. I want to be Barbie for Halloween.
Yeah. Well, I imagine that a lot of people don't need a tutorial to do their everyday office makeup because they don't really care. But when they need to like do something more technically challenging, say for a dress up party, then they're going to be like, oh, okay, I'm going to YouTube how to look like Barbie.
Yeah, sure.
So like there's a lot of demand for these videos.
100%. And I do feel like I watched this video. I can't remember if I watched it at the time or if I watched it later, but I've definitely seen this video before. But yeah, the contrast of the La Mer powder, which is like, I would say at least $100 and then also the Coastal Scents makeup palette, which is like very affordable. The idea being you buy this, you know, eyeshadow palette once and you have like every color of the rainbow. And you see her using it in a lot of her future videos as well. It was just like, I don't know. It was like an early beauty, I guess, community favorite is the Coastal Scents eyeshadow palettes. I remember it being a thing over the time. So I just thought it was funny and a fun contrast in this video because she got the La Mer powder money, but we're still also doing the Coastal Scents. I'm like, so true. I relate.
She has a sort of, like you mentioned, a little stint of doing intellectual property character-based makeup.
Such a weird way to describe it.
We have Sailor Moon, where she actually does a little transformation.
I love this video.
Into Sailor Moon at the end. If you've seen, can you tell everyone what Sailor Moon is and what the transformation is?
Okay, sure. Sailor Moon is a manga or anime, and it's like about magical girls. So she transforms from being a high school girl into a crime-fighting superhero, but with like a very slay makeup. And it's like a transformation sequence, which is like a pretty common trope in anime. I'm sure you've seen them in some way or shape or form. I watched Sailor Moon growing up. I'm a big Sailor Moon fan. So for me, watching this, I was like, oh, this is so cute. And I remember at the time I saw it and I was like, this is so cool. I probably tried to recreate it one time or another. But she recreates the transformation sequence where she's like kind of putting on the gloves with sparkles and like the tiara appears on her head. It's very magical. It's very cute. And yeah, Michelle is a Sailor Moon fan as well, big time. And you can see that in this video. This is a good video.
I thought it was worth noting that the transformation sequence before this, most of Michelle's videos are very much shot directly into the camera with one perspective. She might zoom in on her eyes when she's focusing on them, but there's not really any sort of edited sequence or action. Whereas this transformation look, you do get to see like full body Michelle, and they do some After Effects to make the transformation happen. So that technically is a bit more impressive, than what she was doing at the time.
Yeah.
This is, to me, my favorite look, this next video. It's the Avatar inspired look,
God.
which is inspired by the 2009 James Cameron film Avatar. And the video opens with Michelle speaking about how since she watched Avatar, she can't stop thinking about it. And I think that's a definitional case of post-Avatar depression.
Oh my God.
Which was a observed medical sickness following the 2009 movie. You guys can Google it. This is real. I'm not doing alternative medicine here, like some of the creators we'll talk about later. But no, Michelle does a look inspired by the movie. She's not fully blue. She just has...
You're like fake fan.
Yeah. She just has... It's inspired by the film. But...
It's like a colourful eye makeup look. You were like, oh, this is pretty cool. I was like, yeah, it's like it's a Avatar inspired look. I don't know where you're wearing it, but I did remark to you that I'm like, it kind of doesn't matter that you wouldn't recreate the full look. It might just be that you recreate the ombre eyeliner effect or the color combination or whatever. But it was quite funny to me how into Avatar she is. But I mean, I guess you can relate because you're an Avatar.
No. I was not that into 2009 Avatar. I saw it on release like the day of and was kind of like, oh, that was just
Did you
fine.
see it in 3D?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just checking. I did too.
Because I'm like a big James Cameron fan. In fact, it surprised me that she has the like the ball knowledge to be like James Cameron's vision in this film. Because like, you know, that shows that she's like connecting with the film on a director level.
We know that Michelle is a bit of a nerd though. And I mean that in like an affectionate term. She's into Final Fantasy. And she talks about other properties like later on where she's like, I think, you know, these people are visionary directors. And you're like, okay, this girl's very into nerd stuff. Like she's like, I'm not fully transforming into a Na'vi. I'll do that for Halloween. But like, so yeah, she's very into it. As are you. I don't know. I feel like, could you do a James Cameron podcast?
No, he doesn't actually make enough work. I mean, you can do a podcast on anything, like we've proven that, but I don't think I would be able to maintain interest.
But you are a James Cameron like fan, or I don't know. I just feel like you just know a lot about James Cameron
Terminator
stuff.
2 is probably the best action film of all time. So,
okay.
Big ups. And also Titanic. Sorry, I'm a big Titanic head. Titanic is like arguably the best blockbuster. Certainly of the 1990s. Maybe of the, you know, the post CGI sort of Hollywood output. But I want to bring us back to Michelle Phan here.
Please.
Because around this time, we have in the Moonlight Seduction look video, introduces her sister-in-law, Promise.
Yep.
Do you know much about Promise? Were you a fan?
I think, subscribed to Promise. So Promise is Michelle's brother's wife. So it's Michelle's sister-in-law. And I don't know exactly if Promise had a YouTube career like prior to meeting Michelle or like Michelle's brother or whatever. But Michelle does have her own quite prolific YouTube career. I was subscribed to Promise Tumung at some point or another. Promise, did she change it to Promise Phan? Not sure. I was subscribed to Promise at one point, and she also does like a makeup transformation type videos. Yeah, maybe we'll cover her at a different
Michelle
point.
includes her family in some of her content, and going forward you'll see like series with her younger sister, for example, but I don't think she ever becomes like collaborative to the extent that like you're like, oh, this is the FAWN crew. It's more like, oh, I'm doing a video about Thanksgiving and naturally my family are in the background, and you're like, oh, there's Promise.
Yeah. So
at this time we have the video 4 different Chinese girl looks, which despite the title being it's a
weird
bit
title,
clunky,
I think.
But from an SEO perspective, bang on.
Who? No, I mean, what? No, I don't think so. No one is searching up like Chinese, like what?
Australian girl makeup.
No, okay. But then it would be like, okay, basically to explain, because I was like, what is this video? Like, is Michelle being like, this is how to look like a Chinese girl? Like, very odd. But no, the actual video is her. I think it's in collaboration with Lancôme. It's like she's gone to China with Lancôme.
The reason I wanted to bring it up is that at this point, Michelle has become a partner of Lancôme. It's like their first like YouTuber person they're bringing on. They gave her some like, vanity title, and it seems that naturally Lancôme products are now a lot more prominent in Michelle's videos.
Yeah.
The partnership does not end on the best terms, and from what I understand, Michelle has privated or deleted a lot of the partnership videos with Lancôme. So there's only a few years of this, but this video is still up, and yes, we could see that the Lancôme influence was quite prominent.
I just can't get over the title of this video because, okay, no, I just need to say, I was like, what the hell? But then when you watch the video, it's her explaining like how to go from like a natural look to like, it's basically like building on the same look. So it's 4 makeup looks, but you build it up over the day, and it's like a day to night kind of vibe. But she is also throughout the video explaining what Chinese makeup trends are, being like, oh, it's like popular to use like a slightly lighter shade of foundation or whatever, right? These are like the trends of the time that she's observing as she is in China. That is all fine. It's just the way she titled the video.
You've been there though, and I'm sure you understand that potentially this was a request from part of Lancôme, probably the Chinese marketing department, and they're like, we have specific demands for this video. We want you to make this. And she may have been like, well, that's weird, but they might have been very insistent. Like, this is how these collaborations often come together.
And you know that from me talking about
yes, your work with
certain brands over time.
The divide,
Yes, you are oftentimes working with brands and they're like, we would like it to be titled this, and you're like, why would I title it that? Going the back and forth. Yeah, maybe, potentially. But the video is actually better than the weirdness of the title, is all I need to say.
100%. So post Lancôme 2011, a very funny video, Lipstick Bullet, which opens unlike really anything on the channel so far, in that it's like single camera action film shot of Michelle like in a gun battle, like a shootout, like she's shooting a machine gun.
She's in like a war zone.
And you're like, what is going on? And the video is actually about repairing your lipstick when it snaps. Mm-hmm. Is that correct? Is that like...
Yeah, it's when the lipstick like falls out of the component.
Yeah. Why does it do that?
It could be because you wind it up too much and you like the pressure and the angle you apply it on causes it to like snap off. It could be because it could be soft from like the weather, from the hot, if you like leave it in your car or something like that. There's a lot of reasons why it would happen. I have not really had it happen to me, but it can happen, and it's funny to do a tutorial DIY video with this insane framing.
Yeah, I'm not sure why the idea for this came about, but it's very funny because she basically is like hunkering down in cover and then fixes her lipstick to reapply it.
It gives, well, because the video is titled Lipstick Bullet because that's what it is called. The like part of the lipstick is called the bullet. So it kind of seems like, you know, it reminds me of that like Cynthia, Jesus died for our Cynthias. Do you know what that is? Okay.
No.
It's giving like bullet, lipstick bullet in a gun. And then she's like, that's the video concept.
I feel it's like SNL. They'd be like, oh, you know, like they call it a lipstick bullet. So like, what if it was like a gun?
A gun.
Yeah. Wow. Saturday Night Live.
But she doesn't actually use it as a gun.
No. And actually the comments were like, I thought she was going to shoot a lipstick. And I thought that as well.
Me too. This video is crazy.
The one thing from this video I thought was really funny is that when she like heats up the bullet to repair it, is she uses the largest like butane pig-shaped lighter with 3 flames.
It's so huge.
And
huge.
like the only reason I feel you have this is if you are like smoking substances with it, because you can't use it to light a candle because of the 3 flames.
It's too huge.
Like it's not appropriate for cooking because of the angle of the flame. And she actually years later has a normal lighter and is struggling to light something, and she has like a throw off comment where she's like, yeah, I wish I had my big pig lighter. And I thought that was so funny because like no one was commenting at the time, but I was like,
do you think Michelle was blazing?
I 100% think she was blazing. So shortly after this, she does a very funny sponsored piece of work for Toyota.
It's a Hatsune Miku makeup tutorial.
Yes.
And this video slays, and it has the world is mine. Guys, I was also a Hatsune Miku fan in like late middle school, high school. So I remember watching this video and being like, this is so cool. I wish I could look as good as Michelle Phan doing her like Hatsune Miku makeup tutorial. I did not attempt. But it's a makeup tutorial, but she's like filming it in the desert.
Yeah, it's like at some point she becomes bi-coastal, as she stresses in her videos. She's doing 2 weeks in New York, 2 weeks in LA. And this is giving like outside of LA.
Yeah.
Like sort of plainy
But
vibes.
what sets this video apart to you?
It's more the inclusion of the Toyota Corolla and the fact that the video makes a great stress to say that Hatsune Miku's official car is the Toyota Corolla.
I mean, so true. It is Hatsune Miku's official car.
I've never seen her drive a car because she's not real. But hey, yeah, go off.
I think this sponsorship is pretty crazy. And I think, again, speaking to like the Lancôme partnership and stuff, at this point, Michelle Phan is like a hot commercial property for brands. She's super brand friendly. She never swears. All her content is very, super commercial. It's very easy to, well, I don't know if it is easy. You can shoehorn in a lot of things into a makeup tutorial, like as part of the framing device. Like in this one, it's literally at the beginning and the end is the car stuff, and then the rest of it is just a makeup tutorial. The car isn't like...
I mean, surely you can put anything in because like a lot of women wear makeup every single day and they go about doing any number of things. So...
Yes.
Kind of a goaded spawn opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, it's great, but Michelle is getting a lot of opportunities, and more her videos have partnerships or sponsorships attached to them, and her viewers are starting to notice. Like you mentioned that the Lancôme sponsorship didn't end on the best of terms, and I think later on Michelle references that her viewers were not necessarily so jazzed about her doing a lot of this commercial content. They were a bit like, you're a sellout, which I don't think is really fair, to be honest, because she is still providing value in like this Hatsune Miku video. Yes, there's a Toyota Corolla sponsorship and they might be like, that's a bit weird, but she's still giving you a Hatsune Miku makeup tutorial that is of the same quality as all of her other work. I don't know. I think it's a bit, there's a bit of a weird vibe. I can understand people being like, wow, every video is sponsored. And again, compared to other creators at the time, they're not getting all their videos sponsored for pretty obvious reasons, or for reasons like they're not as brand friendly. But I don't know if it's necessarily fair. That could also be me coming from the fact that like nowadays, like pretty much every YouTube video is sponsored or like has an integration, but because it's earlier times for sponsorships and earlier ways of doing it, it can be.
I mean, criticizing your fave for selling out predates YouTube.
Yeah, I think I was talking about this with you and you pulled up like a Jay-Z song. Is that what it was?
there's a lot of like people being like, I want the old Michelle. Like this is not the same as how you used to be. And there's like a Jay-Z lyric from like after his prime, but he's literally like, want my old shit, buy my old albums. And I feel like that applies to many of the complaints where people are like, you've changed. It's like, yeah, she's now like 5 years older than she was. Like, but everyone changes.
Also, like, and I think it comes from us watching all of these videos in a pretty like tight window of time as opposed to over the years. I don't think she's really like, her content is still pretty similar. It's just like
it's better,
higher production, and it's like more, but it's still ultimately the same thing. I don't know. It's just a bit of a weird vibe. But yeah, was that why the Lancôme ambassadorship ended, or like did she not? I'm not sure.
From what I read secondhand, it seemed like the reception to some of the collaboration and like products that were launched was poor.
Right. Okay. So then they were like, let's just cut the cord.
I want to do some Michelle and love discussion because there are around this time there are some videos where it's sort of like this one I'm talking about is the framing is midnight kiss and it starts crazy. It's like the framing is like, oh, you're like talking to Bae and like you want to kiss him so bad, so you like run to him in the square at night and we kiss. It's a New Year's Eve
makeup tutorial.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it makes sense.
Yeah, you got to kiss him before midnight.
What do you mean? What?
Well,
what do you think?
It's not like one of them was working.
Huh?
Why wasn't she just with Bae?
Why do you keep saying Bae? It's on New Year's you want to kiss someone at midnight. That's like a thing.
Yeah, okay.
Why are you saying it like that?
Well, I just didn't get that from the video. Or I certainly couldn't remember. I thought it was New Year's.
It's new.
Tied,
the framing device is them. It's like Happy New Year.
But she's like alone. It's like if he also wasn't busy. Look.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is the video. And she runs and the climax of the video is her kissing this guy and you're like celebration. But the reveal in the end, and Michelle will often include like behind the scenes or bloopers, as like the tail end of the video. She makes this professional actor, I imagine, wear like masking tape over his lips so that when they do the filmed kiss, their lips actually don't touch.
They're not actually kissing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is very interesting.
Why? Because you just think they should just kiss?
Well, it speaks to maybe some conservatism around her not wanting to even kiss this guy for the purposes of like acting.
I think, you know what I think it was after seeing the rest of the videos, I think she was actually already in a relationship with someone at this time.
Yes, I think
and
you're
she
probably
didn't want
correct.
to kiss this person because she felt to herself that she would maybe be unfaithful. Obviously it's acting and you know whatever, but she's not an actor, so if she doesn't want to kiss someone, she does not have to.
Even some of our greatest actors, I'm thinking Penn Badgley, they are not going to do romantic scenes with people of the opposite sex because of out of respect for their partner. So she was just really early to that.
It's fine, but so this is like, it starts off with like a cinematic thing and then it just cuts to being a full makeup tutorial and you're like, oh, I thought it was going to be like a full short story kind of video. Why? But there's just a makeup tutorial in the middle of it and it's just like the framing device. And I was like, just you wait.
Well, because we get a video called Rouge in Love and it is a story about how a woman played by Michelle, presumably herself, but it's basically all silent. So
it's like a silent film.
Yeah.
Also sponsored by Lancôme, I think.
Sponsored by Lancôme, set in Paris. It's about her and this presumably French man, how they cross paths and then he spends a lot of time trying to find her and then he's tracking her by her lipstick.
That she left on a tissue.
Yeah, on
napkin.
tissues and napkins and things.
It's a Cinderella narrative. You know, like the Prince Charming trying to find the... Do you know what Cinderella is about?
He's trying to find the woman whose foot is so dainty it fits in the shoe that she leaves behind.
You're so knowledgeable.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you. But yeah, it's literally like a Cinderella vibe. Like they have a meet cute, he falls in love with her at first sight, she disappears, and then he's trying to track her down by the lipstick on the napkin. Cute. And then they meet and then they kiss. There is no makeup tutorial in this video. It is a short film, which when we see the credits, it has like 100 people working on it. It is very like cinematic. Any other thoughts?
I was mostly like, yeah, it's an interesting like brand piece for her channel because there is no makeup tutorial, but it is like a short film. And it's kind of, I thought it was similar to how some of the other creators we watch, they will break the channel format because it gives like, well, this was my passion project. I wanted to make this.
Yeah.
And I think this more just gives the ad agency that work with Lancôme, well, like, we will just have you star in what would otherwise just be like a Lancôme ad, right? Because this is, and correct me if I'm wrong, the framing of this is very similar to a lot of cosmetic ads, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's tying in, it's associating Lancôme lipstick because that's what she's shown applying the lipstick throughout the video, and she applies like different colors and whatever. Although I will mention that the lipstick on the tissue that he's using to track her across the city is always bright red because that shows up better on camera, and Michelle is mostly wearing like nude or neutral lipsticks.
Even I could be like, bruh, that is not the same lipstick.
He's actually got the wrong woman. Not important, but just
that's
funny.
Actually
that would be so
funny.
But yeah, I get the point. But they're just associating Lancôme is an iconically like French brand, like being French is a huge part of their brand. Yeah, romance, love. It's just brand association. And Michelle is slaying in this video. She looks so good. The blowout, crazy. She's got cute little looks. I thought this was a cute video. And she gets to kiss the attractive French man with the swept like pompadour.
Yes.
At the end, who?
Well, we learned that he, and we'll give him a name, it's Dominic. Dominic is actually her, at first, long distance, but eventually live-in boyfriend, who we learned that they met while she was actually in Paris, and she was trying to order something at a cafe, and I'm sure the wait staff there were very accepting of her poor French skills and not at all rude. But he steps in and speaks French and helps her order, and then they strike up a long-distance relationship. And then he appears in her videos going forward. So she does the classic boyfriend does my makeup, which I have never seen an example of. You said that this was a somewhat common trend.
Well, this, in the video, she's like, I know you guys have been requesting this, like, because it's a trend, and we will see them again as we progress on this podcast. Basically, every beauty guru who is active around the time would do some variation on the boyfriend does my makeup. Yeah.
And I wanted to say that I think that he had an unfair advantage, given we know he has starred in at least one professional production.
He's like an actor and model. That's his job.
So he has had makeup applied to himself. So the fact, and he probably, if you're a startup model, right, like, you probably have to learn how to do your own makeup if you're doing small shoots and things, right?
I don't know.
You don't know? But we assume so, right?
I think I would just say that Dom does a pretty good job in this video. It is, and you haven't seen any others, but I'm sure any viewers who are familiar with this like format of video, is it's so common for the boyfriend to do like a comically bad job. And like in some cases, like they're purposefully being worse at it than they probably are. Like they're drawing like red like spiral jigsaw
that's fun. That is like engagement bait though.
Yeah, and I get that that's funny. I think it kind of plays into like a bit of a annoying narrative of like makeup is dumb and I don't care about doing this video and my girlfriend is being annoying and I have to do it.
Yeah,
it gives off that
to an
bend.
extent though, if you made me do this video, sincerely, I would have no idea what anything did and it would be disastrous. Whereas he does a passable job.
It looks pretty bad, but yeah, it's better than some other ones I've seen where
he knows what the things do.
Yeah, he tries he's actively trying, and I think that's endearing. I think it's nice in these videos for the boyfriends to try and I guess show like a respectful interest in what for many of their girlfriends is their like career. I think that's what bothers me about it, but maybe that's just like a personal ick. I don't like it when the guys are like, makeup is dumb. It's like, your girlfriend's paying for the rent. It's like so annoying. Dom excluded though. He clearly is. He's giving respectful energy.
Dom, just to flash forward, skip ahead to modern day. We do not know if Michelle and Dom are still in a relationship. He has been seen or like glimpsed in some of Promise's videos post-pandemic, and people think they may be still together, but his Instagram eventually went to private. He stopped featuring in her videos, and she doesn't speak about her relationship. So it's actually unclear what is happening there.
We haven't really... Have we talked about many, like, YouTuber relationships yet? I don't think so.
We spoke about Ryan Higa dating...
Arden Cho.
The girl from... Yeah.
Yeah, Arden Cho from Partner Track on Netflix.
Oh, sorry.
Cancelled.
I thought from Ass, right?
Oh, Ass.
Agents of Secret Stuff.
Yeah, and Partner Track on Netflix.
Sorry, I only know about YouTube movies.
This is the number one Arden Cho Stan podcast. But I think the reason why we thought it's worth discussing is because he becomes a pretty big part of her channel briefly. I mean, is he a big part of her channel? I guess it's more that we see that the view counts on videos with him in it are high. People look up to Michelle. Her audience thinks she is a very inspirational figure. She's kind of entering her girl boss era where she's very successful. You know, she's traveling to Paris with Lancôme. She's doing all this really cool stuff. And she has this very, very attractive, respectful boyfriend. So everyone's like, wow, like, girl is living my dream.
There were people being like couple goals about her and Dom.
100%. And as we move forward and look at more YouTubers, you'll see that there is definitely peaks and valleys to opening up about your relationships online. And so I think that's why we're talking about it, because it's interesting that for a period of time she seemed to leverage her relationship in her content. I don't think that's in like a negative way, but she's just being open about her relationship. And then after a certain point, she just was like, we're not doing that anymore, and just never made a video about him again. It was like a period of like 2 years where he was really in a lot of stuff, and then she basically never talks about him again, which is fine. It's so her right to do that, but it's interesting as to maybe external forces or something made her change her mind on that, which I think is so valid. By the way, there are a lot of YouTubers who will like very actively even do like couple vlogs and stuff like that, and then, you know, one partner decides they don't want to be online anymore. We don't know. It's not really up to us to speculate, but I think it's interesting that she or him or them together made that decision that they didn't want that to be online, and I think it's so fair.
100%. Speaking of having a boyfriend, the wear his dress shirt video.
Oh my God.
I want to flag for some... for the concept, you said this is something that people would do. You
were like, so like, what is this demented content? And I was like, this is pretty
basically
of the time.
Yeah, so she takes a man's like Oxford button down, and she's like, this is how you can wrap the shirt around yourself and make a dress. Here's how you can make it a sarong. Here's how you can wear it.
She's showing you different ways to wear the shirt.
Yeah, but not like wear the shirt like you would like an oversized shirt. It's like, no, you can like tie it around yourself and
make it a strapless dress.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it looks insane. If you saw someone wearing this, you would be like, what is going on? We recently went to a fashion show where the whole point was repurposing men's dress wear into... like various different like ready to wear pieces.
Yeah.
And those you were like, oh, I like see the vision, but if you saw someone wearing it, it would be incredibly shocking. And this is much the same. Like, I'm sorry, you can't wear a dress shirt tied around yourself in the street and not have people be like, what are you doing?
Time. Is this like 2012?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. The way I was like, I know this is 2012. There were a lot of YouTubers being like, hacks on how to turn your like tartan shirt into like a little strapless top or like a skirt and whatever. This is like really common YouTube stuff. So for me, I was not surprised. Do I think any of the looks look good? Up for debate. I think some of them could pass if you didn't look for too long. Like, but I don't know. I remember of the time I would have been like 15. I remember seeing these videos and being like, wow, that's a really cool idea. How creative, how innovative. You can buy one shirt and have 6 dresses. Did any of them look good if I tried it? No, but I respect it. It's the kind of thing where it's like, it looks good from like maybe the front, but then from the back, it looks like a bit weird. Also, she does a few collabs with this guy, and I just need to mention that he literally looks like Ryan Reynolds.
I'll put a photo of him.
Yeah. They do. I think he does like home cooking, like lifestyle content. I'm not familiar with this man. I'm giving Kiki Palmer, I'm like, sorry to this man. I do not know who he is. But yeah, he just looks like Ryan Reynolds. And I thought that was funny. Anyway, that's our video. Did you have anything else to say about it? You just need to bring it up
because it was just like...
It broke your brain a bit.
It made me... It was the only one where I got rage baited into being like, no, girl.
But it's not rage bait. She's being sincere.
Why didn't she ever wear this in public then?
Because she has other dresses.
I know, but like... Surely if you're advocating for people to do this, you should model it yourself,
I don't know what to tell you. A lot of girls did DIYs like this.
Fair
and
enough.
We'll see them eventually. Yeah.
Okay, so we're getting to a major milestone in the Michelle journey. And this is a follow me to work video. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know where work would be when we were watching this. I was like, girl, surely you don't still have a job. But the reveal is, and of course you knew this, is that she works at a company called Ipsy that she is a part owner of.
She's a founder, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Ipsy is a goodie box makeup subscription service.
It's a makeup subscription bag. So every month you pay, I think it was like $10 or something like that originally, or maybe more. But every month you pay a monthly fee and you get shipped a little cute like makeup bag, and inside is some makeup products.
So we see her in a pretty big office and we're introduced to many of the staff. So it seems like Ipsy is like a pretty well subscribed service at this point. Were you interested in Ipsy at the time?
Yeah, I remember being aware of Ipsy and thinking it was really cool, but unfortunately I am Australian, so couldn't get it. They did not ship internationally at the time. I don't know if they do now. I would think not. I think it would be wouldn't quite work. I think it was only like a $10 price point at the time, so I think they relied upon it being US only. But yeah, it was a very cool thing to see. And also, can we just say, this is a video where she's like, so I get up and do my morning commute. I commute by plane. How do you get to work?
Relatable.
Car, train, bus? But for me, today it's by plane. And I remember just thinking like, what a funny, unintentionally funny line, because it's not relatable at all. But yeah, so she's commuting from her home in LA to San Fran, where the Ipsy offices are. And Ipsy becomes a pretty big deal. It's like
Ipsy is still around today.
Yeah, Michelle's not a part of it anymore.
No, she left quite early on. I think that at the time, Ipsy was struggling in terms of acquiring customers. And yeah, so presumably she was bought out or she voluntarily exited. But her involvement with Ipsy, does not extend to the present day. But Ipsy is still very much like a very popular beauty membership service. I think we were tossing around $1 billion valuation. Something
like that. Yeah. At one point it was, I think while she was with the company, it was valued at like between $300 to $700 million while she was with the company. So yeah, pretty crazy. There are a couple of competitors like BoxyCharm, which I think Ipsy eventually acquired BoxyCharm. So I think Ipsy is probably the most popular or the biggest makeup or beauty subscription that there is. And I would argue that it like pioneered in the space. This was like a very new thing at the time. I remember being like, what is this? So yeah, very, very cool. Michelle doing a lot of innovation. She's truly in her girl boss era.
Yeah, she might have actually made a bunch of money from the various acquisitions that Ipsy went through. Because in present day, she does seem quite wealthy.
Yes.
But we'll get to that.
So she's Michelle, girl bossing with Ipsy.
Yeah, she's girl bossing, but she's still doing her normal makeup content. She does a look like Miranda Kerr.
Shout out to an Australian icon.
Well, actually a fellow Brisbaneite.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
She's from Brisbane. Went to All Hallows.
Shout out to Brisbane Private Schools.
Brisbane Private School system.
But yeah, it's actually very like, wow, Miranda Kerr, remember her? She now is married to the Snapchat
CEO
founder and lives in like his mega mansion in LA and is rarely seen.
Yeah.
So that's the goals.
You love going on a little Wikipedia hole while we're watching these videos.
Yeah, well, it's just like such a like, where's that person now? She does a how to be a heartbreaker, which is like a video where she takes all the products and she's like, wow, coincidentally, these are all in the Ipsy bag this month.
Yes. She starts doing this pretty frequently. So she is... And it's smart, right? You're a YouTuber. You have your own brand that you're invested in. The best advertising is free via your own channel to your millions of subscribers. So she does like a Marina and the Diamonds tutorial with the Marina and the Diamonds soundtrack. Somehow this hasn't been copyright claimed, or she got permission or something. For anyone listening, can you tell that I was a Tumblr girl in 2013? I feel like that's what all these episodes are cluing people into, my random obscure fandoms. But yeah, I remember watching this video at the time and I thought it was really cool. But yes, all the products used to create the look, coincidentally, you can get in the Ipsy bag for February. So yeah.
Something you can't get in the Ipsy bag is a Japanese coffee bag that you use the grounds of to make a scrub that allegedly reduces your cellulite.
Oh, this video was a bit of a hard watch for me, I have to say. It was popular at the time. There's actually a really popular Australian brand called Frank Body, which I'm sure a lot of people may be familiar with, that does coffee scrubs, which again, allegedly reduce cellulite, or there's been research to suggest that caffeine helps reduce cellulite. I am not an expert in this, okay? I personally am of the opinion that, because you can see that also with a technique called dry brushing, that can reduce cellulite. I don't actually think that it's the fact that it's a coffee scrub that it reduces cellulite. It's just like increasing circulation can reduce cellulite. But I'm kind of getting ahead of it. The point is Michelle makes a video teaching you how to do a DIY coffee scrub at home, but she talks about cellulite.
Yes. From my notes, her talking points are that cellulite has nothing to do with weight. Okay. But then she also goes on to say it actually is a result of things like your poor diet.
Yeah.
Or your like lack of exercise. So I don't necessarily think that that's even better than her saying that it has nothing to do with weight, because then she obviously goes on to say that if you use this scrub, you can like extract the toxins and your fatty deposits to reduce your cellulite.
No.
Also, after being like 90% of women have cellulite, when she demonstrates the scrub on herself, it's naturally over her knee, upper thigh and upper calf, an area which she does not have cellulite. I don't think many people even would. So it's quite telling.
It's more that it's a shot that's like far enough away that you wouldn't even be able to tell. And she doesn't have to show it. It's a bit of a weird video because it's sort of being like, everyone has cellulite, guys. It's so normal. But if you do have it, it's because you've done something like morally bad. And now you can extract toxins. It's a bit of an icky vibe for me personally. I don't like this type of beauty. It comes off as very like, yeah, it's very like beauty industry TM in terms of like, everyone has it. It's because you're a bad person. But you can fix it by doing this thing.
I did want to talk about Michelle's general body positivity outlook. Everyone is beautiful mantra, which is something that is consistent across the videos at this time, but also her alleged use of beauty filters, which we have seen video evidence of. Specifically, it seems that she quite often will thin her face and elongate her chin so that she takes on a more she basically wants less width to her face.
She's changing her face shape through use of like video filters, which you can do in, I don't know if it's Premiere or what. There are like tools you can do, not to be like, but I'm like, I don't know how to use them.
Yeah.
Like, but she's apparently doing it, and it's, at the time, it's pretty, I don't know if it's necessarily uncommon, but like, because she is doing a quite professional level of production compared to probably a lot of YouTubers around this point in like 2013, 2014, it's, yeah, something that people don't know about, I would say, that you can do. Like, people assume that the videos she's filming are not edited in this way.
She does a video where she talks about how she changes the like fold of her eyelid through using
like
what's the tape
double
called?
eyelid tape.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's like, I put the tape on 22 hours a day
for 3 months,
and it resolved my unbalanced eyelids. I think that anecdotally, yes, people have had success doing that, but
it's a non-surgical alternative to evening eyelids. I don't know if these are really the same thing, but it does build an overall, there's a bit of a narrative.
I think that, Ben, we don't need to, make various guesses about the specific procedures that Michelle may have had or not had done. But I think we probably both agree, if we look at her in the present day versus when she started doing YouTube, that there have been changes to her face that are not explained.
You probably can't you wouldn't entirely be able to put it down to just aging.
No,
or the passage of time. Yeah, she looks a little different. And she
continues to use beauty filters even now. And while she has acknowledged that she does use those filters, they're on things where it's like, this is like my natural no makeup video. And yet people are like, I can see the telltale signs of a filter applied to your face.
It's like she turns her cheek and the background behind her warps a little bit. It's things like that. Yeah, we haven't really had to discuss this as of yet. I have mixed feelings about this. I think her kind of overall takeaway is I think it's fine for people to use these filters, but yes, maybe people should be more upfront about them. And because at this point later down the track, she had received backlash about this, and so she addressed it. And I think a now deleted video, or a privated video where she's like, yeah, I agree. I think it's fine for people to use them, but they should be transparent about when they're using them. And that's a really good idea, you guys. I haven't thought about that. I should do that next time. But it's sort of putting herself in a bit of a corner because she's saying it like she's not been doing it and
for 15 years.
Yeah. And I don't know exactly when it started, but there is, I just think...
For me, it's a case of obviously celebrities lie about cosmetic surgery, but we don't necessarily, I don't think Chris Hemsworth is going, in the movie, he's not making claims this is my unenhanced body, I'm so natural and everyone is beautiful, because he's an actor. Whereas when you're a content creator, specifically in the beauty space, then those claims are directly related to your work.
Yeah.
So when Michelle is this is my natural, untouched look, or everyone is beautiful, you should accept the way that you are, when she is very transparently using effects that she doesn't disclose to change that, or having procedures potentially to change the way she looks, that is when people are well, this is dishonest.
Yeah, I go back and forth because I think equally when creators are really transparent about things, I would prefer that creators are transparent about things because I think it's better for them to be hey, if you've noticed that I've started looking XYZ in my videos, it's because I actually had this procedure done. There's obviously a thing there where then it's influencing people to potentially pursue looking into getting that procedure. But, you have things and this is not a YouTuber, but Kylie Jenner was saying for a really long period of time that she did not have lip fillers. She obviously did. And then she has now since come out being yeah, I lied about that because I didn't want to tell people about it. But then all these people, she was saying that it was because she used her lip liner. So people were buying her lip liner thinking it would give the same effect. So that's quite dishonest and not a great practice. I don't know if Michelle's doing it to that extent where she's being my nose is really snatched and it's because I'm really good at contouring.
Yeah.
It's not to that level. I think it's fine if you don't want to necessarily talk about your procedures, but in terms of using filters on your videos and things like that, it's a case by case sort of basis, I guess, but it's interesting. Yeah. And she talks about having insecurities and she's I think it's normal for people to have insecurities. Everyone has insecurities. But she's sort of also then being you shouldn't be insecure. But clearly, if you are having an amount of procedures or using certain things like face slimming filters and not discussing them, the messaging is a bit at odds with, it's not really practicing what you preach, I suppose, which is, you don't have to be perfect. I don't think she should be demonized for this, but it's an interesting element to her overall 5.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I think that we should discuss EM Cosmetics.
M.
M Cosmetics.
Yeah.
M Cosmetics, which is me backwards. I mean, M is. So we have a video that's been privated, but thank you, someone, for re-uploading it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called Finally My Makeup Brand. And it's her announcement that she is going to be launching a makeup line, which is going to be owned by L'Oreal.
Mm-hmm.
And
who also own Lancôme.
Yes.
So that's the connection there.
L'Oreal, one of what, like the two big makeup, like them
yeah,
and LVMH?
it's L'Oreal, LVMH, Estee Lauder.
Yeah.
I would say.
So the big three.
Yeah, and we should mention this is going under the L'Oreal Luxe category of brands. So you have L'Oreal and then the L'Oreal brands in drugstore. So that's, I think it's called, I'm not sure, but it'll be like L'Oreal like prestige or like like mass prestige or mastige. There's a lot of like random industry terms, but those are like, there are brands that are more commonly found in the drugstore that are more on the affordable side of things. But M is part of L'Oreal Luxe, so it's up there in price next to Lancôme, etc. So it's a higher price point, which is definitely plays into how it's initially received.
We have some videos about her going to the L'Oreal offices in New York, like vlog style. You can see that her boyfriend is there and they have an apartment in New York, and she flies back and forth between her home in LA where she shoots her content and the offices in New York where she works with the L'Oreal team.
Yes, this is the explanation for why she's been bi-coastal for 2
Yes.
years, because she's been going on about like, I'm bi-coastal, and I'm like, but why are you in New York? Like, other than obviously like New York is cool and you would want to live there and you are wealthy enough that you can do that, but there is a bit of a like, we're like, why are you in New York so much? But this video, Wake Up With Me in NYC, is like another M Cosmetics focused video as opposed to just like the brand announcement video, but it's like, I guess a more casual way of promoting the brand.
Yep.
But you noticed in this video, and this is what prompted me to be like, pause, we actually need to go watch the announcement video because I think it's been privated because you didn't see it, that you saw the M Life palette, which is like the flagship product of the brand, and not knowing that it was her brand, you were like, wow, that's really cool. The big makeup palette.
Well, yeah, do you want to describe what it is?
Do you want to describe it?
Okay, sure. It's like you have a big palette with all your colors, and then the colors are modular in that you can pick them up and put them into a travel-sized palette, so that if you were going away and only wanted 5 of your top colors, you can just pop them out and put them in the small one.
Yeah, or like as she is doing it in the video, she's like, I'm going to work, so I'm going to take these ones here with me to touch up. I'll say I don't ever touch up my eyeshadow during the day, but other than that, the idea is a really cool concept. Like,
yeah,
it's
this is
very
the thing.
cool.
I thought about it, but then I was like, hang on, how many people are so wealthy that they need to, like, because I was like, oh, it's like a travel-sized one. And so I'm like, oh, because you're away from your main makeup desk. But I'm like, how often am I away from my house so that I need to take my makeup in a smaller thing to reapply at a later time?
I mean, people, maybe it would be like if you're going to the office, because this is pre-work from home era. If you're going to the office and you're wearing your like office makeup and you're taking the palette with you because you are going to like touch up your makeup after work so you can go out to get drinks in New York City because you live in New York City and your life is slay. I'm like, I get it. I think it's a really
couldn't you
cool...
just buy 2 palettes?
Yeah, but then that wouldn't be the life
And
palette from M
how
Cosmetics.
strong are these little blocks? I feel like they would not stand up to moving back and forth a lot.
Makeup palettes, it would be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, they'd be fine.
Well, for whatever reason, this wasn't a huge hit. So the brand did not hit the way I think L'Oreal intended. Do you remember what the reception was like at the time?
I remember the announcement video. I remember it coming out. I remember being like, wow, this is really cool. Like, it's a really cool concept. I was into makeup at this time. It was not available in Australia, and I was like, womp womp. But the price point, so the big Life palette, which to be fair is a pretty big palette, at the time was $75, which was far and away like considered a luxury price point. Like, people were not spending $75 on an eyeshadow palette at this time. Like, a nice eyeshadow palette would maybe be $45-50 So this was like really expensive. Obviously it's bigger, and the point is that it's like 4 in 1 and they can be broken down into like the little ones. But yeah, it was definitely expensive. The price point was quite high for her audience, and people were basically like, girl, I love you, but like I'm not buying that. And then also I think the general reviews of the products were lukewarm. Like people I think wanted it to be good and were happy for Michelle, but the actual quality of each individual eyeshadow in the pan would vary and was not maybe living up to the expectation of the price point. To be fair, I think a lot of luxury makeup isn't necessarily like much better than like, yeah, price is not always relative to the quality, but I think the whole thing together made people feel a bit disappointed. I think people were rooting for this to be good. I was rooting for it to be good. And so I remember seeing that people were like kind of meh on it, and I was a bit like, oh, yikes.
I think now with the L'Oreal collection and the experience that she has on Ipsy, there is definitely a shift in the focus of the channel towards being far more commercial. And we even saw on her Welcome to My Channel like trailer that got some TV airtime around 2014. The comments were people, like we mentioned, being like, oh, this is quite different to what I subscribe to. Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
like you're so corporate now.
Yeah.
But the videos are all still getting pretty good views. So I feel like Michelle was probably not overly bothered. She does a Diet Dr. Pepper ad at this time, which was actually
on the brain.
It's kind of slay.
Yeah, it's actually.
I actually was like, wow, that's a good ad.
Yeah, we saw it because it was just called like One of a Kind.
Yeah.
30 seconds long. We're like, what is this? And
what if you, Michelle, you're talking about how there's millions of women that do makeup, and then there's only so many thousands that do it professionally, but there's only one beauty YouTuber, and that's you, Michelle. That's the pitch for this ad.
That's Don Draper pitching.
Yeah, it's like Michelle basically is being like, you know, out of all of the people that do makeup, I'm the number one YouTuber.
Okay, it's not actually. It's meant to be like everyone's one of a kind. I think it's meant to be more.
Okay, but
general.
like,
but yes, obviously, like she's one of a kind.
Yeah,
which she is.
Yeah.
So you know,
Good
fair
for her.
enough. But she does this Diet Pepsi commercial, which is quite slay.
and it's straight up just posted on the main channel. Like you're hitting normal videos, and then she posted a 40-second ad.
I think this is weird. I understand. I so get what would happen at the time. They'd be like, we want to do this ad with you. We're going to run it on TV.
Yep.
Or like on, you know, pre-rolls for YouTube videos, but we also want you to post it to your YouTube channel, and that's part of the contract. And you'd be like, okay. I think nowadays they would not make her post this on her actual YouTube channel.
I think she'd just say no.
Yeah, you'd just be like, no.
But at the time, as we know from Carl's Jr.,
The Carl's Jr.
to get the
Portobello
bag,
mushroom
these
burger.
creators had to post the ad on their channel.
It's an odd choice. I don't think many brands would make them do this now. Or you might do like a vlog being like, I'm in an ad, and it's like behind the scenes, whatever. But the way they do it, where they just straight up post an ad on their channel, yeah, her viewers are getting a little fatigued. And again, I would like to state, I do think Michelle's content is still producing, like, at this point, high quality makeup tutorials, but pretty much every other video, or pretty much every video I think at this point, is either like in partnership with Ipsy, or like doing an Ipsy glam bag. Like everything in the video is from Ipsy, so that's a commercial tie-in. She's using M by Michelle FAWN products, that's her brand. Or it's like, you know, a straight up commercial posted. So yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily fair the ire she's getting for being commercial, but certainly her channel, and again, in comparison to maybe others on YouTube at the time, would have felt very branded.
Yep. So in the years leading up to 2015, she sort of speed runs YouTube commercialization in that she now has a multi-channel network and has creators that she features in her video. Did you call them the Ipsy girls?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was introduced to a few of these YouTubers like through Michelle, and a lot of these being an Ipsy girl was like such a big deal at the time if you're like a beauty YouTuber, like because it would
like
be
being a Fashion Nova girl. That's
no,
a desirable type of girl.
Well, no, not really, but sure. It's like, I think these, you know, Michelle would maybe be inviting, like at these times, these are small creators, and it's like, okay, maybe a metaphor that you could better understand would be like, imagine if Mr. Beast was like, I want you to become part of the Mr. Beast squad, and I will promote your channel. Like you'll be in it actually is just like that.
Yeah.
It's like becoming a part of the Mr. Beast crew, and you're in his videos, and then your channel gets a bunch of subscribers through affiliation. So these people are being shouted out by Michelle Phan on what is one of the biggest platforms for beauty creators on YouTube, and they're getting paid to make videos in partnership with Ipsy. So they're doing like commercial content. Every month the Ipsy girls would do a video about the Ipsy bag, I think. So yeah, I got introduced to a lot of creators. So I am Karen O, Jay Kisser, Desi and Katie. I'm saying them together because they're kind of like a duo, but like Desi Perkins and Katie, aka Lusterlux. Shout out to Tash, friend of the pod, who was a big Desi and Katie fan. If we do the Desi and Katie video, that'll be, we'll have to have her on as a guest because like she knows the law. But yeah, there's a lot of YouTubers here that I was introduced to through Michelle, who were definitely spotlighted and platformed. And then they have now gone on to become their own very successful beauty creators in their own right. So she does a lot for these girlies in their career.
I mean, I feel, correct me if I'm wrong, multi-channel networks are sort of not at all the... yeah, they're very much out of vogue. I feel like no one... Is anyone in them anymore?
No, I think... Right. I don't know the history. I think it's called Icon.
Okay.
I'm not so across the history of the Icon network, but I believe it does shut down.
Her one, or... Hers is FAWN, right?
FAWN.
For all women...
Network?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Let me just check. For All Women Network. And that eventually got rebranded into Icon.
Okay. But Icon is not around anymore, I don't think.
So.
I don't think many MCNs are still around, to be fair. But yeah, I think these girlies all at some point leave the MCN for one reason or other. And also I think Michelle leaves like FAWN/Icon. She's kind of in her founder era. Like she starts a lot of companies and then
there's also a lot of videos
departs
on this channel now where Michelle maybe does the intro and the outro on camera, but the entire rest of the video she is not on camera. Like it gives a production studio, shot everything, and she just came in and did the voiceover.
Yeah.
And the audience, you can see comments, people are like, I'm not sure, like, where's Michelle, basically?
Yeah. It's the Ipsy girls or like other Ipsy affiliated creators or people from the FAWN network in the video.
And she also they start doing trend reports.
Oh,
they don't do many of these, but it's a real, like, is this channel just becoming, like, basically a content farm? Because we have, like, completely different girls in these videos discussing, like, this is the makeup trend of the season. And it's like...
It's a bit weird.
Yeah, it's completely inconsistent with, like, the video so far.
And she's also doing a series called Pillow Talk, which is like a more candid, like Q&A style content where she's answering viewer questions, and it's like an advice sort of segment. She usually has like another YouTuber on, could be one of the Ipsy girls, who will help her answer these questions. I remember seeing a viewer comment under one of these videos being like, hey, it just seems like every video is either a trend report or a pillow talk. Where are the makeup tutorials? That, like, where is the Michelle solo makeup content? Yeah.
So 2016, the channel does a trend report and then goes dark in that Michelle doesn't post a video for about another year. And I don't think there is any public statement.
Nope.
I don't think they acknowledge where she is at all.
No.
It's like she just vanishes off the face of the earth.
She is completely silent on her YouTube, her Instagram, every social platform. She is just disappeared. I also did see that she, at this point, we will find out, but she has packed up and has gone traveling. She apparently also did not even tell her business partner at M or Ipsy. Like, she didn't tell anyone. She basically was like, hey everyone, I'm just going to peace out for a year, and disappears. Has gone, like, no contact, no Wi-Fi, off the grid.
Yes. Well, in 2017, she posts a Why I Left video, which is animated in the style of a Draw My Life she did earlier. So she clearly, I'm not sure if she drew this personally herself.
I think she did.
But, you know, she has some artistic credentials, or she proclaims to. So it's animated, and to give a quick overview of the video, she is like, oh, you know, when I started doing early YouTube, there was like, you know, it was like the possibilities, there were so many. Quick note for the purposes of this podcast, the YouTubers that she features in the sort of mock YouTube setup at the beginning of the video: Kev Jumba, Nigahiga, Smosh, and then a woman playing guitar called Kina Granis. I don't know her. And an account called Venetian Princess that I also don't know.
I'm not familiar.
But, three of those creators have featured in the video so far. So we have the same taste as Michelle, clearly. But she does a pretty normal burnout explanation. She talks about how she is so driven to further her career that she sacrifices her happiness. She explicitly shows frame from the Dr. Pepper ad when discussing this conflict. And I was like, wow, I thought the ad was pretty good, but okay.
Yeah.
It might just be because it's a easily identifiable visual holding the soft drink. She also, and this is interesting, she talks about how she feels like she has to present such a perfect image, and she shows a visual of the filter effects on an iPhone camera, which is interesting because she wouldn't really talk about filters.
Yeah, she shows that
for years.
She shows an image of her face tuning herself, which is kind of again crazy because it's that had been, I guess, going around as a rumor, or people have been being you seem to be editing your photos again, snark, whatever. So she's indirectly addressing that she does that, but doesn't talk about it again for years, which is interesting.
And she also goes on about the effect that the legal battle over the copyright claims against her channel, how that took a lot out of her, which fair enough, it would be annoying. I think you have some background on that from the time.
So a lot of her earlier videos, she uses copyrighted music, or music that maybe had been no copyright at the time. Oh, actually, yes, I do have knowledge of this because I have also had this happen to me and it's very annoying. So a lot of music creators on SoundCloud, for example, would be this is a no copyright music track. Feel free to use it in your YouTube videos. I'm just making it for fun. And then later down the line, they will sell their body of work to a company, and then that company will start doing copyright claims on YouTube videos, being we get to now have all of the AdSense on this video, paid to us. So I've had that happen where I had a stock track I used on my YouTube channel pretty frequently, and that creator of the track had been yeah, you guys feel free to use it, So I used that, and then I got a claim on a bunch of my videos being you can't use this track, or we now get the ad revenue from these videos, so then I had to stop using the track, which is so fine. But that was basically what was happening to Michelle. She was using music that was fine for a while and then suddenly was copyrighted, and so she was going to lose a bunch of the monetization on her videos. And considering she was getting millions and millions of views, that would be quite a financial hit. And I think again it's retroactively being copyright claimed. It was fine at the time, but now it's not anymore. And so she's I think her annoyance was kind of fair. Obviously, I think musicians and stuff do own their own creative copyright, but it is very annoying to be retroactively we own the money from this video that at the time when you did it, it was completely fine. So, yeah.
How do you feel about this video overall in terms of her reasons for leaving YouTube and how she explains them?
I think it is... I remember seeing this video again when it came out, and I've been yeah, where has Michelle been? Because again, I watched a lot of her videos or was subscribed to her. And I remember feeling quite empathetic to her. She clearly had been under quite a lot of stress. She was very much girl bossing. This is a case of burnout. I will say that we kind of realized that in this 1 year period where she was I had to just go off the grid and disconnect, that we then realized that in this 1 year period, she's also created an entire webcomic and repurchased from L'Oreal the rights to M Cosmetics and relaunched the brand with a full new look and feel. And I'm so you were working during the year off? She's yeah, I had to take a year off and decompress. But I'm you must have done some work though in the last year.
Yeah, I think it was more a year off YouTube.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I was very empathetic, and I think we didn't discuss the Draw My Life, but her discussion of the need to pursue success and financial security does come from we know a bit of her backstory.
She has a troubled upbringing.
Yes.
Let's leave it at that.
Yeah. So you can definitely empathize with that, how that has informed perhaps the direction of her career and her choices, where through her success she was able to achieve a lot of things, like she mentions being able to, like, you know, set her family up and look after her family and things, which I, you know, am very empathetic to. How do you feel about this video?
I think, look, the charitable view is that, she was burnt out because of the various pressures on her from creating and maintaining the YouTube channel. I think that there is an extent to which, like, and I've said this before with other YouTubers and their burnout issues, they really like to, like, take a very mythologizing approach to their life, where they treat, like, creating YouTube content like they're performing some incredibly important work. When I am more of the case of, like, yeah, girl, you should just take a holiday. But, you know, I'm not a very popular YouTuber, so maybe, you know, I don't know the pressures that come with doing that. But I do think that, like, for normal people have to work and don't have the luxury. And she does address that she has the money to do it in the video, so fair play there. But they don't have the luxury to just quit their job when they experience some unpleasantness. They actually probably don't even like their job. And they also will then change jobs when they dislike it, and they don't play that into, like, a narrative of how, like, their entire life has sort of led to this decision, you know?
The only thing I'll say, and I guess maybe I'm just coming from, like, maybe a more charitable view, is that Michelle at this point is involved in multiple different companies that have large teams of people, and her not creating YouTube content or not continuing to be successful at what she does directly impacts, like, their ability to have jobs. Like, M Cosmetics as a makeup line is not doing well, but it would certainly not do well if she just stopped uploading makeup. Do you know what I mean? Like, she is responsible for many people's livelihoods in an indirect way. And she also kind of does illustrate, like, a visual of, like, there are a bunch of people in her room, like, clearly she have, like, a management team or, like, other, you know, kind of corporates who are, in a sense, like, I don't want to say, like, leeching off her, but they're encouraging her to do things that may not be in her personal best interest, but are in the best interest of them making money. So I think there's, and if she is coming from like a people pleasing standpoint, or, like, wanting to do the right thing by other people, then that would be really exhausting and tiring. And she would feel compelled to continue even when she doesn't. Like, she discusses a feeling of feeling trapped, and I think that's fair. But she is also...
Look, I think the reasons are perfectly fine overall. And given, like we've discussed, Michelle can be quite private. I don't think we really have all of the relevant information to make a super strict call on it. So, regardless of that, she... basically, after this video, takes another 2 years off YouTube, and she then returns in 2019. The video is just called Hello, and it's a quick little walkthrough of some of her office space. She now has like a larger, like, M Cosmetics sort of warehouse brand. They're showing off some of the products that they have in their new lineup, and they have, like, a very cool, like, a robot camera that
she's invested in, like, a robot company. She's in her investing in tech era, which will
like, this video is a stealth ad, so to speak, but I don't think anyone really minds because she had been away from YouTube for so long. And also, if your work is at a company and you do a vlog, then it makes sense that the company is going to feature you.
I mean, how do you, like, what is your first video back that you do after, like, 3 years really of not doing anything? And I think she even says that in the description, being like, didn't really know how to come back, so I figured I'd just do this quick video to kind of show you, like, what I'm up to these days, and then I'll like come back and do some more content later, which she does.
Well, I mean, the video you do when you come back is the one she then does, which is watching my old videos, which is a classic elder YouTuber trope. And she watches the old videos, and that's the one where she's like, wow, I can't believe I put kitty litter on my face. And I will say that I think, and this is, we've noticed this across all the new as in post sabbatical Michelle videos, is that she is a lot more, I don't want to say herself, but she certainly is a bit more loose, a bit more casual.
Yeah.
She swears now, if that gives you an idea of what we're getting at.
And the comments are all like, oh my God, you swore. Like, I've realized I've never heard you swear.
She looks at one of the, like it's a makeup sponge, and she's like, yeah, it looks like a butt plug. And you're like, and all the audience are like, wow, Michelle Phan say butt plug, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But I personally, I think she seems like way more personable post her break.
Yeah. And I think it's worth mentioning as well, because prior to, I think at Michelle's height of her like success, which is very like sustained over a long period of time, she's consistently getting 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 5 million views on her videos for years. But the way that makeup and beauty content creation is now, like modern, like the current era of beauty content creation is way more casual, a lot more chatty, as opposed to the more like formal stylings of a makeup tutorial with a voiceover. So
that is how I think of beauty YouTubers. It's like they're really like commentary, or as the streamers would say, like first person creators. And the makeup is like basically like a setup for them to do like a piece to camera discussing what's going on in their life.
Yeah, I mean, not always. I do think a lot of, but yes and no.
Yeah,
like,
I know there's still like instructional content out there.
Yeah, or you're reviewing the product as you're talking about it.
But it's a lot easier to, and it's cynical, but it's a lot easier to monetize your parasocial connection with your audience than it is to review products.
Yeah, you're more personal. You're getting to know that person and their personality more, because it's you in real time talking about something. I mean, obviously it's edited, but as opposed to writing a script and doing a voiceover, which you can do many times, it's a different vibe. So Michelle is, I guess, adapting to that newer style of content, or she's like leaning into what's popular. She's not as concerned with maintaining a very like perfect facade or having that really put together, clean, brand friendly commercial image. So it's definitely a different vibe, but it's nice. I agree. It's very fun to have Michelle say that something looks like shit.
Yeah. I mean, she comes back and she actually does some quote unquote normal Michelle videos in terms of their like Halloween creepy makeup. But she also goes and does some really like non-traditional content. Like she posts her horror manga. Is that what I'm describing it correctly as?
It's hard to describe what this video is, because I remember seeing it and being like,
the title is My Real Life Scare Stories, or My Real Life Scary Stories. Yeah.
And they're almost like drawn in the style of like Junji Ito manga, like graphic novels, where they're like a horror style drawing where she's talking about like creepy dolls and like beheaded ghosts and stuff. It's very strange, I guess.
It's very not G-rated.
Yeah, it's a bit spooky, but I remember seeing this video in my subscriptions and then watching a bit of it and being like, this one's
unsubscribe.
No, but I was like, this one's not really for me. Like, I appreciate this, I think it's cool, but I was like, this is it's a cool video, and a lot of people were very appreciative of it because they're like, wow, it's so good to see you being so creative and like da-da. It's a cool video, but yeah, it's very different, and it also leads into maybe her like spiritual side a little bit, because she's discussing like her personal experiences with like paranormal happenings.
More on that later. So she is vlogging more. She now does like a somewhat annual Thanksgiving vlog.
You were really into this.
Yeah, well, because you get to see her really nice house. And I was also just curious what food they were going to serve, because her mum is also in these videos. And I don't think we've seen her on camera before, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
No, Dom not on camera, so unclear where he is. But she does does like the full Thanksgiving spread, and she seems to like this content because they basically do one every year. And there's some more product review stuff.
She's doing makeup tutorials with like M Cosmetics, the newly relaunched M Cosmetics, which, as a sidebar, I have tried some of the new M Cosmetics products and they were quite good. I don't have any at the moment because I only had like a couple of pieces, and I did declutter them because they were not like the right color for me, because I have to buy it online only. Like I can't buy it in person. Sorry, just sidebar, I need to say, because the rebrand and all of that was really cool. Like, it's way more in touch with her. The brand feels way more Michelle and way more for her audience than the previous iteration done by L'Oreal. It's very like, I remember, I think the relaunch had a lot of hype around it. Like, people were like, this is really cool. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm dancing around this next video because it's just it's so crazy and such a break with things.
Yeah.
Just imagining being subscribed and seeing this, especially if you were like...
This was me. I was subscribed and saw this.
If you're a big fan and then out of nowhere this comes. So the video is called Bitcoin Explained Simply.
Yeah.
And it has Michelle on the thumbnail with the Bitcoin symbol. And I'm sure everyone was like, has Michelle been hacked? Like, what is going on here? And the video is Michelle basically advocating for Bitcoin. She does a little explanation about what it is. She can't really go into too much detail because the video is only 10 minutes long. And she does say, wow, there's so many things to talk about here. But there's a few odd things that I noted. She says a line where it's like, well, people are like, Bitcoin uses so much energy, but if we want to be interstellar beings, then we have to use this energy to like get off Earth. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like, girl, you make the lip balm. Like, where is this coming from?
It's really, Michelle does use very like flowery language, and you can tell she believes in like spiritual things. But up until this point, she's never been like, if we want to be interstellar beings.
She's never discussed the economy, which is a big thing in this video. She's like, Bitcoin is a hedge against inflation. She's obsessed with the idea of inflation is bad and you need Bitcoin to prevent your money from becoming worthless due to inflation. To that, I would just say, just put your money in a savings account. And
this is not financial advice. We're not a financial advice podcast.
Exactly. Hypothetically do that, and at worst you'll be nil with inflation. But anyway,
I think it's important to say, and we can cut this out if you like, but we're not like fully anti crypto. Do you want to discuss?
We can discuss, yeah. Okay.
I think it's important to say, just as a reference, like, you have Bitcoin.
I inadvertently have Bitcoin, given I purchased it some years ago to use to buy a service, and I did not buy that service, and as a result, that Bitcoin significantly increased in value. But I didn't buy it as an investment.
You weren't like, I'm a crypto.
I am against Bitcoin as an investment vehicle, 100%.
Yeah. We are not crypto kings, TM. No. I personally am very skeptical of crypto. I feel like the amount of, and I'm sure we'll eventually talk about them, but the amount of like influencers who do like crypto rug pulls and like scams and things like that, I just think it's very...
Yeah. I think both like the technology is really cool.
Yeah.
But as a store of currency or as a way to like do transactions, like Michelle says, she uses this example where she's like, well, if I want to send money to someone in Japan, then I have to like go to the bank, and the bank will be like, well, who does the person in Japan bank with? And she basically makes it out as if it's like really difficult thing to send money internationally.
And they take this really nominal fee, and who's deciding the fee? And it's like, okay.
And she's like, well, instead I could just send it to like a public wallet and I would pay a minimal transaction fee. And it's like, well, actually there is a transaction fee, but also the reason there are these guardrails in place when you send money to people is that so if someone intercepts my email and puts in the wrong Bitcoin address, when I send them that Bitcoin, I basically lose my money. So naturally banks are like, we're going to put in some, some boundaries to prevent our customers from just being scammed.
Like pro big bank, but the way she's talking about it is very like, it's just so out of nowhere.
There are some telltale uses of language that you'll recognize if you sort of like following the grifter sphere, where she's doing things being like, well, the media, you can't trust the media narrative, or like you need to do your own research.
Yes, yeah. And apparently I did have a little look into it. She was at the time also, because she was in the crypto space, on her Twitter, was like doing a lot of Bitcoin stuff and was like retweeting like alt-right crypto bros. So it was a bit of a weird shift. And I remember seeing this video in my subscription box as someone subscribed to Michelle, being like, what is this girl going on about? Like, Diva, what are you doing? It was odd. It was odd. And the comments on the video are quite negative. Like, people are being like, why are you doing this? And also it didn't obviously age well, because there were like obviously some big Bitcoin dips, and people also being like, this kind of feeling like you're advising your followers, because she kind of is. She's being like, you should get into Bitcoin. And she's not.
Well, she is involved in a like browser extension that is kind of like,
it's like Honey,
which
like, has recently been in a big scandal, by the way.
But rather than you getting paid like, you know, cents on the dollar, you get given tiny amounts of Bitcoin.
Satoshi. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It's
which that is a product that so gives like them being like, how can we get more women to buy Bitcoin? And they're like, well, what do women love to do? They love to shop. So if we can attach it to shopping, that's our in. And I saw from her Twitter stuff, their like brand voices being like, our events, we got like so many more women interested in crypto than the average event. And that was like their big spin on it. Anyway.
Yeah, it's a bit, we could talk about this at length. It's cooked.
Well, it's just like Bitcoin remains part of the channel. When she does Q&A stuff, people will ask her like, how do you feel about the Bitcoin dip? And she's like, well, I don't care because I'm never selling. So look, she's in on Bitcoin. That is interesting. The videos until now, it's sort of a continue of that content cadence we discussed before. She's not super active, but she'll post Q&A stuff. She'll post content with her family.
Yeah,
she'll post at Thanksgiving.
Makeup. Yeah,
when there's new
videos.
products, she'll do a makeup video. I did think it was interesting how some of her makeup videos now are in the style that you discussed previously, where it's not her old form of like step-by-step instructions.
With the voiceover,
yes, it's more her discussing her, you know, if she's having a yap, and she's also applying the product at the same time.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
I think the format works for her, and yeah, I think she's adapted to the new format. I don't know if we cover it in our run sheet, but I need to say that as a subscriber of Michelle, I don't believe I'm subscribed anymore. I think I have unsubscribed to Michelle. And I don't know if it was the Bitcoin video or something else, but I also followed Michelle on Instagram. And obviously we are a YouTube history podcast, so I won't go too in depth into this, but I do think it speaks to obviously like how your persona across your different channels can affect your audience.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the Instagram stuff?
Just really,
I didn't look at this because
I remember it happening at the time. I think I was following her, and I was like, "This is a bit concerning." So I think we mentioned it, in the Bitcoin thing and like in the scary stories thing. Michelle has been known to have a spiritual interest, or like an interest in spirituality.
Well, she herself is religious. Like she talks about God.
she talks about God from time to time.
Hear us talk about God.
We are both agnostic.
I'm not saying my religious alphabet.
Okay, I'm agnostic, so I am very respectful of other people having, you know, religious interests and things like that, but I personally am not. I went to a Christian school. I decided it wasn't really for me, but I respect that it, you know, does things for other people. I don't think I really need to do a disclaimer. I think you can practice whatever religion you want as long as it, you know, is respectful and you're not necessarily bringing those beliefs or placing them on other people who don't want to be involved. But yeah, Michelle's like into astrology. She's a bit woo as well. So she's like into spirituality and religion, but she's also a bit woo. And that together brought up some Instagram stories where she was talking about going to this like meditation retreat run by a guy named Joe Dispenza. I'm not very across Joe, but it's a bit culty guys, or at the least, even if it's not a cult, it's just very, it's like pseudoscience. She posted an Instagram story basically being like, I'm on this retreat, I'm putting in the work, I'm sleeping for 4 hours, I'm meditating for 5 hours, I can't go to the bathroom until I finish meditating. Then we do 2 hours of science. And you're like, what are the 2 hours of science? And then she's like, I healed a man in a wheelchair and now he's not only walking, but he's dancing with joy. I remember seeing these Instagram stories being like, what the fuck? Like, it just was so, and again, I don't want to be like, you can't, but it just felt like she was, because of her large audience and her platform, and she was being like, everyone should get, this is such a life-changing experience for me, this is so amazing. It did put me off a little bit. I don't know if it's really necessarily fair to be like, people who talk about religion, like, it puts me off. It's not so much that. I follow plenty of creators who are.
Many LA girlies going to meditation retreats.
Yeah.
Not many healing
claim that they heal a
men
man who's in a wheelchair, which is so, it's just a very like, ugh. And a lot of people were like, Michelle, I think you're in a cult, or like, we're concerned about her. There was then a Q&A. So I guess technically it does tie back into a YouTube channel, because she did a Q&A and she was like, I can't believe so many people were worried about me being in a cult. And I really had to like, think about it. But like, guys, don't worry, I'm not in a cult. I'm not the type of person who would be in a cult. And I was like, that's very, yeah, it was just odd. The vibes were odd. It's like the combined, like, she's into crypto, she's into like healing men in wheelchairs. She also put up an Instagram story. I think maybe this was the one that made me unfollow her, which was where she was saying like, this is during COVID, and she was like, essential oils can protect you from getting COVID.
Yeah.
It's just like she has like pseudoscience beliefs or alternative medicine beliefs, or just like things like that, which I personally think saying those things to a very large audience, especially when your audience like primarily follows you for, and I'm not saying she just has to do beauty content, but yeah, like, do you have a responsibility? And maybe this ties back into the stuff about her using filters or not disclosing surgery, or allegedly like saying she didn't get surgery and it was something else when it was surgery, things like that. It's a bit like, if you want to have this really large platform, and I know people don't sign up to be role models, but ultimately you do have to take responsibility for the fact that you are telling millions of people that if they just burn a rosemary essential oil, they're not going to get COVID. Like, that is a dangerous belief to be spreading on your platform. So I do believe I have unfollowed Michelle, which, yeah, I really like a lot of her content. I really respect her as a creator, but this new bend was a bit of a concern to me.
Yeah. And I will say, for like, to her credit, this stuff is not super prominent on her YouTube channel.
No.
Which is good, because we shouldn't spread disinformation.
But she has like 1 million followers on her Instagram.
But yes, so, yeah, naturally, yeah, it's not great.
Yeah, and then like people would then be like, Michelle, that's not true, you shouldn't say that. And she'd just be like, oh, she'll like back herself on it, or like double down, or like kind of walk it back a bit, but not completely. Yeah. And I think that is also a bit like,
yeah, I think it's more like she sees the YouTube as like a platform for her business, but she's like, my Instagram, well, that's me. Like, I'm going to express my personal opinions. And yeah.
Except when it's about Bitcoin.
Well, I think
she
is probably, let's be real, she probably owns a lot of Bitcoin, and it's in her interest for people to buy it, so the price goes up.
I don't know. These sort of things, I'm not being like, you can't be your whole self, or you can't do other things online. I'm not of the belief that creators need to be like singular in what they do, or like to stay in a box. But I think some of these beliefs, I was like, I was not aware that was your vibe, Michelle. I'm going to have to tap out. Like the Bitcoin, the pseudoscience stuff, the like alternative health, you can cure, like some of that retreat stuff, they're claiming that these people have recovered from like illnesses through the power of meditation. It's very, 100%. It's like Steve Jobs' core,
Yeah.
It's very,
and we know how that turned out.
Look, it's very,
just ask Justine.
It's just very like, I don't know. I don't want to be like rich people, like but it's like,
yeah. Look, it's very much of a type of woman with her money and her age that lives in California. Mm. And I want to be like, I don't think anything she says is so, unsavory that like wow, I can't believe you watch Michelle Phan. It's more just like there's some unpleasantness. I even think with the COVID thing, she literally came and said, she was like, oh, I just said this because a nurse told me.
Yeah.
She didn't fully double down. And I don't think this stuff will sort of like consume her content like some creators allow their beliefs to like completely disrupt their output. But yeah, it is a shame, I think, to see this is how it's gone. Because, you know, as I said, modern Michelle, I think we chop it up. She seems otherwise pretty cool.
She's
funny.
The visionary...
I laughed at some of the videos post sabbatical.
Yeah.
And I certainly didn't laugh non-ironically at the stuff before then.
I mean, she talks about the, you know, visionary video game director Hideo Kojima.
She's a fan. She loves Kojima.
Yeah, we
she talks about all her favorite games.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy X. That's, you know, it's a deep cut.
Yeah. But, yeah, I just felt the need to mention it because it's not super prominent in her YouTube stuff, but I do think, like, that is an element that has come up and is a bit... Yeah, and there's like other stuff as well we haven't talked about. I'm sure some people have seen some things online. She promoted like a class with a person who was... there's a lot of drama.
I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about where she's at now though. Mm-hmm. And that's having recently finished the first, and I'm not sure if there'll be more, but at least one series of a podcast, which I don't think has a title. It's just
Afterglow.
Afterglow. Mm-hmm. There you go. Afterglow, where she does like a one-on-one sit-down interview with normally another famous YouTuber. So guests that we would know, Ryan Higa, prominently, and Rosanna Pansino.
Yes, you got it.
Yes.
You're learning.
So there are other people who I don't know. Do you remember any of them?
A lot of
creator?
them
I know.
like...
Sorry, Promise, her sister-in-law, is one of the episodes, but there are some other creators. Yeah, I'm not familiar with them.
She's mostly inviting on like OG YouTubers, so I'm sure we'll cover quite a few of them in time. I was actually listening to an episode of the pod this morning just to get myself familiar with it. I have listened to a little bit of it here and there. Like, again, this is the thing. I kind of like was like, I need to take a step back from Michelle's content. This is kind of spooking me a little bit. But the podcast, I think, has been like a fun, new format for Michelle to work out. And yeah, I was listening to her podcast with Rosanna this morning and it was pretty good. It was like a nice back and forth. Michelle is very good at podcasting. It allows her, and she even talks in the episode about how it's like a nice new medium where she feels very freed, that she doesn't have to be constrained by the fact that she's a beauty creator, and that she did feel that constraint for a long time. And the podcast is like a nice way for her to be able to talk about a range of topics and be herself.
Drop the F-bomb.
Yeah. But like to talk about like they talk about like Mr. Beast and stuff in the episode, which so yeah, maybe worth a listen. But I think she clearly, at least herself, definitely felt that she was really stuck in a format, and she is kind of at a point, which I think a lot of creators get to, where you just go to, you know what, it doesn't matter if my views are going to be much lower now or whatever. I'm just going to move forward with making the content I want to create, which I think a lot of YouTubers can make from, it's a decision they can make because they're like financially free. Like,
I agree. And I think it's admirable that even though these new videos, they are not pulling in the millions of views that the old stuff did.
Rosanna podcast episode had about 40,000 views, which is, really different to...
But like, by all means, if you're independently now 100%. Wealthy, then if you want to have a podcast... Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, do a passion project or do a project that's new and different and makes you feel like personally fulfilled, by all means.
40,000, listeners?
Nothing to sniff at.
Exactly.
Would love to get there.
Certainly, I can't turn my nose up at it.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, she hasn't done like the crash outs where she comes back and is like, Ryan style, where she's like, wow, this new content, it just doesn't perform. It seems like she is not really bothered about that these days.
Yeah, she's made her peace. Oh, and obviously she has M Cosmetics. She's diversified her wealth to where she is no longer reliant upon her YouTube channel. And she's done that very successfully. Like, M Cosmetics is its own thing. It's very tied in with Michelle, but it's also like successful on its own. She doesn't need to be in every M Cosmetics campaign in order for it to make money, I assume. I assume I don't know exactly how the brand's going right now. I need to check in actually. But yeah.
Okay. Wow. So that was
Big ep.
a long chat.
I didn't think it would be this long.
I know. Neither did I. But here we are. In conclusion, Michelle Phan, what's your takeaway?
It's been interesting to go through it with you. I mean, as every episode is, obviously. That's the format of this podcast. But especially because I am quite familiar with Michelle's content, was subscribed for a long period of time, and very familiar with, like, you know, I knew about Michelle leaving and coming back. I knew about her boyfriend, and I kind of was quite aware of a lot of what was going on. But having experiencing that with someone else and being like, whoa, this Bitcoin video is crazy. I'm like, good. I'm glad I'm not the only one who felt that way. But yeah, Michelle is probably, of everyone we've covered so far, the most commercially successful, or I guess most successful full stop, in terms of, like, she has really branched out and owns multiple companies, has really taken her YouTube career and kind of, gone off on, done a lot of things, but is still, I guess, connected to YouTube. I think we will talk about some creators who become very successful and they just completely leave YouTube behind in favor of, like, traditional media or doing something else completely, but she still does feel like a connection to YouTube.
Given, like, the insight into her life we have following her sabbatical, I would not have been surprised if she just retired from YouTube, essentially.
Yeah.
Because it does seem like she has a full office of staff, she has a company to develop, she has, like, a family of people who presumably rely on her. So I think if you are still, like, a Michelle Phan fan, it's actually quite nice how she still maintains a public presence, even if it's, like, a lot more muted than it was, you know.
I felt that way when she was, like, releasing their Thanksgiving vlogs and stuff, and pre-Bitcoin. But like, I did feel like, wow, it's so nice to see Michelle back.
And honestly, the podcast, that episodes are like 45 minutes long. So, you know, the 8 episodes of that's probably more Michelle Phan content than you would have got in, like, her whole YouTube career.
Yeah, no, for
like,
sure.
You will know more about, because I will say from the early videos, it felt like I didn't really know who Michelle was. She seemed very much like, you know, a blank slate for the viewer to project themselves on. It's probably why, you know, part of the reason she was very successful, but she had very normal aspirational things. Like, she had a successful career, she had a hot boyfriend, she was good at makeup. But until, she came back later on, and I found that, like, obviously I'm not someone who watches beauty YouTube, but I found it pretty interesting watching her sort of pioneer in that space, and I certainly felt it was an easier watch than, you know, some of the creators we've watched. It certainly aged better.
Basically an extremely low level of cringe.
Yeah, I don't think
anything was really...
I mean, I was a bit like with the DIY, but
it's not,
The difference is she just showed the DIY as a concept. She didn't wear the DIY in public. She didn't do these things and disrupt other people's lives.
Yeah. No, for sure. Did you have a favorite Michelle Phan video?
Oh, I almost forgot to mention in the vlog in around 2019, one of her family members has a Shane Dawson, like, bag that looks like a pig.
It's one of her employees at her workplace.
Yes. But this pig bag, what is... Yeah, I was fully like, another Shane Dawson mention.
Have we had a single, other than Lonely Girl, I think Shane Dawson has come up in every single episode. He's come up in Smosh,
Correct.
He's come up in Ryan
Higa.
Yeah, iJustine.
And
Neil.
Why does he have a handbag? Anyway, we will get to that.
The Shane Dawson episode, it's like a ticking time bomb. There's only a matter of time before we'll have to dive into that, which will have to be over multiple episodes, I think. I don't think there's a way we can cover it in one.
I agree.
Did you have a favorite video?
Oh, a favorite video? I think it was probably...
You like the Bitcoin video? Bitcoin
I quite
Explained Simply.
liked the office tour.
Which one?
the one, not the one where she returned, the full office tour where she went through the M Cosmetics, her own, when she owns it, the full office of there, because they have a very quite cool like warehouse conversion office where it's like double stories, the computers are in one section, and then they have a bunch of other like individual conference rooms with nice TVs. They have like a robot arm that shoots their content that we spoke about, and I just overall was like, oh, and Michelle was in her new chopping it up style, so I quite like that video. Otherwise, of the old stuff, probably the Avatar inspired look, just because I thought it was really funny. What about you?
I think I do like the new videos. I agree, like the newer style where she's being a little more candid. I quite like that style of content. Like the Thanksgiving vlog is pretty cute. But I have to say, I have a special place in my heart for both the Sailor Moon makeup tutorial and the Hatsune Miku video. I was quite into anime at the time when I was watching her videos. And I thought it was cool that it was like a fusion of two things that I really liked. And they are really cute videos. And you can see that Michelle is like genuinely like into those things as well. So it's like a fan element, but it's also instructional. Her voice is very calming and soothing. I don't know. They're just cute. I like them.
All right. That is Michelle Phan. As I do at the end of each episode, Lucy, what are you subscribing to this week?
This week, I am subscribing to Infinity Nikki, which I have been playing for a while, but I haven't talked about on the pod yet. Infinity Nikki, for those of you who don't know, is a free-to-play game on the PC, mobile, and PlayStation. And
probably Xbox as well.
Probably.
Everything but Switch.
Everything but for now. But Infinity Nikki is it's a gacha style game. So if you've played Genshin Impact, it's sort of like that. But I couldn't get into Genshin Impact, but I'm very into Infinity Nikki because it is like fashion based. So it's a lot of emphasis on collecting cute outfits, running around a very beautiful world with your companion Momo. You play as Nikki.
Momo is like a cat thing.
Well, it's sort of explicitly in the lore he's not a cat.
Okay,
but like, he is a cat.
Okay,
but he's not. Yeah, look, the lore of Infinity Nikki is crazy. I did play a chapter last night where you find out that a bunch of people have been in a slave labor camp. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are they just making clothes? Like, what's the slavery
They're just
element?
in cages.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair
it's
enough.
Crazy. Spoiler for Infinity Nikki lore, but I don't think out of context you'd be like, what? Because in the start of the game you're just like collecting flowers to make skirts. But yeah, it's a very fun, relaxing time. If you don't play a lot of games, I think it's pretty easy to get into. And it's free. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like Michelle Phan would like Infinity Nikki.
Wow. Yes. I actually think you're bang on there.
Yeah, because it's like anime aesthetics, it's fashion, and there's a makeup element too. You can do Nikki's makeup. Yeah, I feel like Michelle could get behind it. How about you? What are you subscribing to this week?
I'm subscribing to Jazz Apples this
What?
week. So, in case you're not familiar, the Jazz Apple is like a version of, the classic red apple, but it's like way crisper. And that's the main appeal of the Jazz Apple, I think. And you pay like somewhat of a premium on the fruit, but I definitely would say that it's worth it. And it's definitely gone up to my number one supermarket apple. So I've been really enjoying the Jazz Apple as of late.
Okay. Jazz Apples. Jazz Apples and Infinity Nikki. That's what we're subscribing to this week. Well,
you seem taken aback. Do you not like jazz?
I enjoy a Jazz Apple. I mean, I purchased them
I like jazz.
Okay, Barry B. Benson.
Anyway, that was the Michelle Phan episode of Rewind Time. Thank you so much for your comments and enjoyment of the first few episodes.
Yes, you're among famous other YouTubers like iJustine.
Yes, our fan iJustine. Check out her comment on her episode. Thank you so much for your support, Queen of iPod.
We love you, Queen of Apple. Shout out to iJustine.
Yeah, Michelle doesn't comment on this episode. Flop error, Anyway, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Ah, oh, that's hot. That's hot.